right. Hmm. I think yep, we should be good to go. All right. Peace, power, and profit. And just checking to make sure we are live. Shout out to everybody early in the game. I know you guys are still coming in, so we'll do a informal, formal type countdown. Let's do 30 seconds. All right. All right, back in the saddle, guys. Peace, power, and profit to the fam out there, to the traders, entrepreneurs, the go-getters, right? Been a minute since I've been on live doing I guess, if you will, a live for the actual, general fam out there, as opposed to all these training sessions that we've been, putting up here. If you guys been lucky to catch those, shout out to you for that. And thank you again for being a constant supporter to what we're trying to do over here in terms of raising the bar in terms of financial literacy, especially when it comes to the market, right? So today we're doing something a little special than usual. All right, we're doing our urban economic empowerment and training session all in one, right? So 2-for-1 special today, right? We can use some 2-for-1 specials right now, especially at the gas pump, right? I would definitely agree with that, right? Right, load up some vehicles, right? You fill up one tank, you get the other tank for free, right? That's what they should be doing, right? Or just if you got one vehicle, you pay half off. Help some of these people out at the gas pump, because gas prices are like life and death for some people, right? It's either dinner or gas, right? It's light bill or gas, right? Couldn't make this stuff up, man. It is wild out here, right? And of course, there's no joking manner because it's a very serious scenario, right? However, we know who caused it, why it's still lingering, and technically what they should do about it, right? And those are some of the things we're going to discuss here today as well, because again, a part of what we do is when we speak to the idea of the urban economic empowerment perspective, right? When we say urban, of course, we're speaking to a lot of the base who are not so just familiar with the ideal of be it market values or things of that nature on this lane, within this lane, but also those who are familiar with it as well, and they're still trying to figure out what makes sense to them from their perspective, right? Because we're not all sitting from a political seat looking down on everybody trying to pass judgment in terms of what's good for you or what's not. We are the ones who are feeling the effect of gas prices, food prices, rent, mortgage prices, et cetera, right? Taxation basically at these department stores, right? And so we all falling underneath the value of taxation without representation, right? That's basically what we're dealing with right now, right? I mean, clearly we're not being represented properly, or I should say we're not even being close to being represented properly, right? And that's probably, different for different people, right? But I'll speak for myself when I say this. I do believe we're not being represented in the way that we should be, right? And so because of that, again, there's a lot of things on the economic front that are just running wild, right? Running rampant, if you will, right? And at a point where we showed to be very cavalier in Jubilee when COVID hit and we went into the pandemic, and they were just printing money, printing money like like a sailor, drunken sailor, right? Wild Beast Savage kind of reality. No one stopped and thought about, what would be the adverse effect to this at some point if we don't necessarily do a controlled type of level of stop gap in terms of this COVID pain, right? Or a help me perspective to help people out during the situation. And in some cases where we should apply more help to certain sectors of society as opposed to others, they did not make that delineation, right? They kept the foot on the gas pedal, and it was more streamlined towards Wall Street. corporate interests, right? The people who are sitting at, down 1600 Pennsylvania every day lobbying to get their agenda, their corporate agendas met by way of, these politicians, these, the president, whatever. So we're figuring things out as we go for a lot of people in terms of, speaking to that, especially the urban side of things where people are not necessarily comfortable in dealing with the politics, right? Because politics makes people, feel some kind of way. And I understand that, right? Because there's again, a real big fog of benign neglect that hangs over Washington when it comes to certain sectors of society. Not just that, just Main Street as a whole, when they're supposed to be doing the bidding of Main Street. Your tax dollars are funding their salaries. Your tax dollars are funding their vacations. Your tax dollars are funding their ability to take your money and give it to other people outside of America with or without your consent, right? Which, in my opinion, how would you square that with, voting repetitively for the same thing over and over, expecting a different result, and you do not get a different result? There lies the problem here, right? So there lies why, we need to have platforms like myself and many others who can come on and be able to offer that, that forum, that think tank, that, place where you can feel comfortable and speak to power, speak truth to power in that perspective. What ails you in your community? What ails you in your, within your, financial ecosystem, so to speak, right? Which are important, right? So we want to make sure we cater to everybody up and down that spectrum because it does matter, right? To me, it matters, right? And I'm going to speak to it in a way where I want people to feel comfortable being able to, come here and feel welcome and not be, feel like, someone is, kind of judging you or whatever, right? That's not what we do here. We're here trying to dissect the system in a way where people can benefit, through it or, from it, either way, right? We're trying to get what's owed, from it, basically, right? Again, you're paying taxes, you've already sold something into this, this corporation of America. And of course, you want to get yours on the top, right? That's how we would like to have it, but of course, that typically doesn't happen for Main Street. Main Street is the last one to eat, right? It's like everybody get a big piece of chicken. Main Street get what's left, right? If there's any gristle left on the bone, you get a little gristle, right? You got to crack the bones and make you a little bone marrow soup or something. But typically, you're the one that's footing the bill for the dinner, this buffet, right? This 6-course meal, right? And you're the last one to eat, right? Make that make sense, right? But that's typically what's happening here. And people are starting to wake up to the ideal of that, especially at these voting blocks, right? We got a very interesting primary voting block coming up here in Q3 that's going to be very instrumental in terms of moving some seats around, right? And I think most people are going to vote by way of their gas tanks, by way of their pantries, by way of their rent and mortgage bills. They're going to vote in accordance to things that are affecting them right now, right? Which is very important because, again, being able to stand on your square and speak to those who are not doing your bidding as, you would have it to be as, a taxpayer, a voting citizen, then to me that matters, right? So we're going to talk about that a little bit today as well, right? Along with this CPI data, right? So that's very important. All right, so shout out to the family coming in the building already. We have family Yoda in the building already. Peace, power, profit to you. We have Miss Ilba Angie Monroe in the building. Shout out to her as well. Peace, power, profit to you as well. Over Chris in the door already holding it down. Chris Woods holding it down. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel. He's building out his, his platform as well. So we want to support him, through his journey and building out his platform. Much success to him. Right. And all you all, if you are out there, you're a content creator or you're putting out, in my opinion, really good information that, that people can benefit from. Shout out to you. Right. Shout out to you because there's a lot of, scenarios out there where that's not happening. Right. There's a lot of scenarios out there where, people out there just doing whatever. And, that stuff is deemed to be credible. Right. This is not be kind of, watching those things and saying that they are not useful for certain people. But yeah, there's certain people out here actually really trying to put out some very, applicable information that you can take and apply it with your situation, right? So we want to make sure we pay homage to those who are doing just that, right? No matter if you got 5 people watching, 100 people watching, 1,000 people watching, because for me, me personally, I'll speak for myself. You ought to be great. You can have hundreds of people tuning in to kind of get some good information, right? But again, we understand the dynamic between attention spans and what reality, right? Some people attention spans when it comes to things that can really benefit them or where they see there's a need for it or not, they're not going to really be in them places. They're not being entertained, right? So you need bells, you need whistles, you need a dancing monkey on the side, you need an elephant that's juggling, you need a lot of things going on. So reality TV playing in the background, maybe a sports show, then you'll have, hundreds of people tuning in. But until that becomes a reality where people see the seriousness of their time, the allotment of their time, then, make do with what you got. Because I always say we have the best group of people that tune in and hang out with us when we go live, right? Shout out to each and every one of you all, because again, you guys make, up this ecosystem, because we live, by the rules of Ubuntu, right? I am because we are. There's no leader scenario around here. We don't do that leadership stuff around here, right? We all have equal equity value in trying to utilize information through our think tank mechanisms to help everyone, right? And that's what we're proud about, right? Because again, if we're going to speak to the ideal of, empowerment, financial empowerment, urban economic empowerment, whatever, it has to be from the ideal of the collective, right? All of us in this together, no matter where you at on that totem pole in terms of the knowledge, right? But you are just as equal as someone that's been in 7, 8, 10 years or whatever. Doesn't matter. Why? Because information, especially when it comes to the stock market, doesn't matter. All right. If you know how to put, 2 and 2 together and put a trade together, then you can be just as successful as someone that's been doing it 10, 20 years, right? It's about what you see. And sometimes fresh eyes, a fresh perspective can be very beneficial, right, to a lot of people, because again, you don't come in with any kind of implicit biases, right? Preconceived notions about how you think the market is. You have a base case of understanding what's going on from a fundamental technical perspective, whatever. But outside of that, your experiences are becoming, they're being birthed as you go along your journey, right? So either way, shout out to you all who are taking a chance on yourselves, and realizing that there's other ways that you can grow income, right? Or find a way to have an additive value of income attached to what you may already have, right? So we want to pay homage to you guys here through that today, right? And as you see, oddly, so I actually got my contribute to the Cash App down there, scrolling across the bottom of my screen, which really is no big deal whether you do or you don't. But sidebar, YouTube is going through what they call a search and destroy mission right now, right? And I've spoken to several people who are content creators, got well more, people who watch their channel than me, of course, and they're demonetizing a lot of people's channel for no apparent reason. They're going through all your information, and they're just saying if you have videos that have repetitive content, things that may be, I guess maybe not liking to the advertisers who are paying to attach these stuff to your channel, and they just outright demonetizing people's channel to give them the ability to go through all their videos and delete certain things that may have duplicate values of information on it. And they sent this out, I guess, a blast across a lot of people, like people who got like hundreds of thousands of followers, whatever, even millions, right? Because I think Meet Kevin was speaking to that recently too, how they was going through his stuff. So they've been on this campaign where they're starting to demonetize a lot of people's channel, or force them to kind of do something different. I don't know what they want for us different, because if you've been a person who just been consistent in terms of your message and what you put out, I don't see the need to be changing and switching up you do. So the fact that I don't depend on YouTube to pay me, it don't matter to me either way, right? I enjoy being able to put stuff out, and whatever advertiser that attaches their stuff to my stuff, so be it, right? But I'm not living by it, dying by it either way. But I will say, in the event that we are going hard, because the way that we do in terms of how we put out information, and if it's respected and you guys appreciate it, then just send me, you can hit the Cash App, send it directly to me. We'll cut out the middleman altogether, and that'll be that, right? So my channel as of right now is not monetized, right? And I don't have any strikes, none of that stuff like that, because obviously if I had strikes, I wouldn't even be on right now, right? They're going after everybody. And again, it's a policy that they put out, and that's what policy do, right? Policy is always trying to kick people in the teeth or in the backside when they cannot have their way. And the fact that a lot of these big growth tech companies like Google and again, Apple and Tesla and Facebook and Snapchat and on and on. We're gonna speak about some of them today too. They're starting to lose money, right? Lose revenue value, be it through people who want to use their platforms for being able to generate, ad revenue. They're cutting back on even content creators, right? Again, not to say that I'm just some kind of grandiose content creator, because I only come on when I want to speak to my people, right? Meaning you guys. So it's not that I'm sitting on here just trying to juggle stuff and turn tricks, whatever, to get an algorithm to get excited about wanting to attach an advertiser to my videos, because I don't live by this stuff, right? And the little checks that they were sending based upon the stuff I had out there, it's appreciated, but I don't live by it. So if you want to support the channel going forward, outside of that, because my channel is demonetized, then there's the Cash App down there. I'll just say that, right? So Cash App is down in the bottom. If you want to support, there you go. All right, so that's that. So anyway, so we're gonna jump right into it. So again, shout out to everybody that may be tuning in again. If you're on Twitter, if you're on the Facebook side of things, right? You kind of tuning in, trying to figure out what this guy will talk about today. Pretty much the information is down in the description box, even though I have a typo down there because I was trying to type so fast to get this thing started, right? I have to go back in and clean that up. But it's basically what, June swoon, right? The idea with the June swoon, right? Right? Are the markets fainting or, feeling faint right now, right? The idea of what that swoon value is, right? So urban economic empowerment and the CPI inflation market assessment. That's supposed to be assessment, not assessment, right? I guess that is a little urban, huh? Assessment, right? But nonetheless, shout out to you all for tuning in, whatever. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We'll play that game if nothing else, right? If they want to, cut us off from being monetized, we'll play the role of just, making sure people still, have an opportunity at least to get the video in front of them, right? That in itself is a form of a payment, in my opinion, right? Because now, people have a good opportunity to kind of see the information that we put out, the extent of the, the data, whatever, and they can, if they can work with it, so be it, right? So be it, right? So again, so we'll jump right into it again. So again, we're dealing with, as you all may or may not know, an economy that is starting to show signs of weakness, right? We are inside of our so-called June swoon. And the ideal of what, if you will, what stagflation may or may not look like. So let me get over here real quick too, so I can make sure we don't have anything in way of the this here. So let me take this off. All right, let me take that off. There you go. All right. So the ideal of the, are we, as some would say, we know we're dealing with inflation, and some would say we may be entering the, the period of stagflation. And a lot of people may ask, like, what is stagflation, right? Right. I've heard this at some point, in passing, maybe on the job, maybe just, CNBC, scrolling by, Bloomberg TV, Yahoo Finance, and someone says, man, we may be going through a stagflation period before you know it. And you're like, stagflation, what's that all about, bro? I don't know about no stagflation. Right. But the importance of it is it's very close to your home, like everybody, because you're being, subjugated to it right now, right? The idea that, the price of food and gas and rent and, energy, whatever, those things are up. That's an adverse effect to what? Inflation, obviously being what? Sedentary inside of your what? Inside of your household, right? So as you see, again, we got more typos here. Under what? Alflation, right? Inflation, right? Again, I'm typing fast to get this stuff out, but y'all get it. It's inflation, right? So this is what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with the value of where economies are starting to contract. When we say the economy is starting to contract, when we say GDP, gross domestic product, right? The totality of the production that we all contribute to as a taxpayer that goes into an overall data set that says this is how well our country or this nation is growing, right? Per one quarter to the next, right? So GDP readouts are basically come out what? 4 times a year on a fiscal calendar, right? You get first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, right? And within that, we're measuring, the extent of our growth or lack thereof, right? As a nation, right? How much output are we churning out? Essentially, it's like America is a business, right? If you new to that, ding, 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 now America is a corporation first above all things, right? So that means it's a business, right? as whether you want to say it's a corporation or even an LLC, whatever, right? With a myriad of what DBAs off of it too, possibly. All right. So by the value of that and that alone, we realize that again, you know, there's a scoring, system or a report card system in place to track that value of whether or not there's an improvement or the lack thereof, right? Coming out of COVID, right? Or the pandemic, I would say that lockdown, et cetera, right? Which we're still having, moments of softening even within that perspective because we're looking at everything from a base effect, meaning from the ground up, everything looks bigger. And initially, early on, let's say within the year of 2021, we started hearing all these good data points that was coming out. GDP, at I think the end of 2020, around I think the third or fourth quarter, we had a 6% readout on the GDP, like unheard of, right? But you and I both know that was a fugazi number, right? There's no such thing as a 6% GDP ever, almost dang near in American history, without there being something catastrophic to have caused us to have a reset, right? A shifting of economy, or just something of a magnitude where we had almost like start over from ground, from the scratch, right? From scratch. So the fact that we had a 6% readout at the end of 2020, it kind of gave Wall Street, and we speaking to Wall Street now, and a lot of the algorithms that trade in around growth numbers that comes out for us, America's standing, so to speak. It gave them a false read, and it set a lot of people up in for failure, if you ask me, because they got comfortable in thinking that number one, government must have been doing something really well to produce certain, a certain kind of level of a larger than life read on a GDP print. Now, for the average person who do not follow this information, they may have heard again this stuff in passing, right? Okay, we had a 6% GDP. Everybody excited about it. They raving about it. What's this about, right? What is that? What's that going to do with me, right? But what they did not tell you, right, it was, as they say, what they did not tell you, that it was based upon a base effect, right? A base effect rating system where we were literally at sub value after losing all our production capacity because everybody was at quarantine, locked inside their house, which y'all was there too for a lot of us. And so instantly there was nobody producing them. There was not farmers out there farming. There were not people in manufacturing hubs and buildings like that building things, right? Ford and GM plants were shut down, right? A lot of plants around this, literally the country was shut down, with the exception of those who were deemed essential, like Walmart. Like, so a lot of those Walmart distribution centers, some of them were still open. Thankfully for those people, at least they still have they had the ability to still provide the income. But everybody else was just messed up. So Target, they had a chance to be deemed essential. So people at their distribution centers were working still. Amazon, right? A lot of people who was working for Amazon at that time, they were still able to work. But what they're also not telling you is that the conditions that they had to work in, that was also another problem, right? So we're looking at a lot of window dressing from the corporations, and that from the government, that everything was on the up and up, right? We're still getting through the ideal of getting through COVID. We're gonna fast track these these so-called vaccines or whatever, and be able to help people get back to some kind of form of normalcy. But again, within that, the biggest I should say hand behind everybody was the Federal Reserve, right? The all-powerful, odds of, right, of whatever, right, of Washington, right? I'm not going to say Kansas, but the odds of Washington, right? That would be Jerome Powell, right? Jerome Powell, right? The man behind the curtains that had the control of all the money, in America, right? From what we know to be, right? He is the ultimate, top central banker literally on the planet. So by way of that, he has actually more power than a lot of sitting presidents, a lot of sitting ministers, right? Prime ministers, whatever you want to call them. He has more power than them. Why? Because we have the biggest so-called economy on the planet, and he's in control of basically managing your funds, your financial future, right? Your households, your mortgage rates in a lot of ways, right? Again, your gas prices, right? Your food prices, your energy prices, right? He is in control. He is in control more than you may not know, in terms of making those things become, either a benefit to you or what, a problem, right? So with that also being said, learning about different data points that you can start looking into if you're new to this stuff, where to go, where to source information, how to track that stuff. I think it's only important that you know you start being able to kind of double check behind the government, right? That's the way to doing it. Now, even though they'll still put out a stat and you'll say, well, is this true or not? I think they might have cooked the books, right? We know that's a big problem that happens a lot, especially in the Keynesian marketplace or a Keynesian, economic school of law, when you're having people of the government that is controlling a lot of the free market values that should be decided by you and me, our ability to innovate, our ability to transcend, a lot of the government overreach, and we'll make the society that we choose. Well, that's not, that hasn't been the case literally since, I would say it's probably as early as like, maybe 2000, right? Even before the subprime lending crash in 2008, we still haven't had somewhat of an Austrian, marketplace before, let's say 2000, right? And that's crazy, right? Because since then, what has been happening? What have we been, propositioned with? We've been propositioned with again, a fugazi front, right? That, it's really about what? The people, right? The citizens, right? The Main Street, individuals who make up the economy or make up the government. But that's just not true, right? And I'm here to kind of set that record straight today. That is not true. If you thought that was the case, you've been highly, highly bamboozled. And the government will have you, consistently believe in that. If you choose to kind of fall on that sword, right, you'll be beholden to whatever they put out, and then you have to reap the consequences, the lack thereof, so to speak, when things don't work out in a way where you're like, well, my tax dollar been paying for this. Why don't I have this? Right? I've been paying into that. Why is this benefit, existent any longer, right? Why is there a cut on my Social Security? Why is there, issue with Medicaid or Medicare, whatever you have, right? That's because, again, government is taking your tax dollars and either doing one or two things, mismanaging it, right? Or, they would be doing proper, work, by way of your money, and you'll be reaping those benefits, right? The fact that you have a complaint, if you have a complaint that's universal across the board, again, even through, wealth class, be it high class, middle class, or even low class, that means, there's a consensus that there's a lot of things that need to get done that are not being done, right? And so the biggest thing is is dealing with the gas prices, right? We know that's a shocker to everyone. Even if you have money, I don't care if you are a millionaire, right? You still don't want to pull up to a gas station and have to look at $6 and $7 and $8 and $9 and $10 a gallon for gas, right? Who wants to see that, right? I know I don't, right? Regardless, right? I'm not looking for those things, to get excited about this kind of a trip to the gas station. Like some people, like, man, they go to gas station, they like, bro, this is proof. It's like pulling teeth. But I don't even want to go to that gas station. I see them, numbers at the pump. I might have to go in the trunk, right? I might have to go in the trunk and pull some out the trunk, boy, because every day I go to the gas station, I'm getting robbed, right? I'm just getting robbed, man. They hit me across the head, and every time I go to the gas station, that same culprit or that robber is sitting at the gas station there waiting on me, right? That's about a way to look at it, right? And it's tragic because, again, you're talking about a bulk of what people need to get to and fro opportunities in life, a job, a business meeting, whatever, right? If you're not using public transit, right? Because even that has to go up because there's a carrying cost with the fuel cost that they have to pay. And even if it's an electric scenario, right? Because I was where I live at here in the greater DC value here in the DMV, right? All the extremities, either up Baltimore, there's trains that come even out of New York that comes into DC. But anywhere inside the DMV range, even if you're using the MARTA and the public transit scenarios like that, and look, it's still a problem, right? For some people, because there's an energy cost, right? You're still paying higher electricity, right? So either way, they're going to get some money from you, right? They're going to gouge you some kind of way, right? You're going to pay that extra carrying cost. So again, there seems to be no kind of there's no safe places, right? There's no safe place unless you're going to ride a bicycle to work or you work literally from home, right? That's the only benefit for those who work from home. And that's why there's another big problem, because corporations like Facebook, of course, y'all probably saw recently with Tesla, Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla, comes out and says, pretty much to everybody that works for Tesla, especially on the C-suite side, meaning the board side of it, right, the business management side of the house, either return back to work or, get comfortable in finding out how to work from home, by way of another job. Basically, he's going to fire you if you don't come back to the actual offices. But again, these people are making obviously a lot more money than the average people. So, in Elon's mind, and if they own a Tesla vehicle, of course, of all things, electric vehicle, you don't have to worry about gas, right? But again, they got other things to take care of too. They got, their home is not 100% possible electric, right? Maybe everybody in the house don't, have a gas, electric vehicle, whatever the case, or they may be thinking about their family members. They're saying, well, anywhere I can help, they're just trying to, fill in the gaps wherever they can, right? I'm just speculating to a degree on what they may be going through. Who knows? But this is the extent of how these corporations are starting to feel, beholden to kind of go after the Main Street side of, of the coin, right? But yet they benefited so much from cheap money by the Federal Reserve that was printing money that caused this inflation, that's bringing about stagflation. They were the biggest beneficiaries of that stimulus money, right? The corporations, the Facebooks, the Netflix, the Googles, the Apples, right? The Teslas, right? You name it, whatever corporate company that you saw a lot of people getting excited about, especially during the pandemic, because they stock just kept going up and to the right. Microsoft, on and on and on and on. These companies benefited from what? Cheap money by the Federal Reserve. Forward money that's going to come out of your tax dollars at some point in the near future, paid for them to have the ability to borrow money, cheap money, your money, to float their corporation through the value of the pandemic. What did you get? Again, what $1,400 check, and then you had to sit on your hands, and for a lot of ways because they had on quarantine, but you had it was like pulling teeth to even get that $1,400 check. $1,400, and people's rent themselves, and for the most part, was $1,400, if not more. So what are you going to do with that, right? And especially you got kids to feed, right? So the stuff that they don't tell you is why shows like this or broadcasts like this or platforms like this exist. Why? Because you need to have a place where you can come and speak to this stuff. Not so much just to kind of vent and there's no solutions, right? Because we want to be able to offer solutions as well, right? One of them that we obviously, submit to, obviously, being able to kind of access the stock market, but there's more than that, right? There's levels of, business ownership. There's drop shipping, right? There's abilities out there where you can kind of innovate, by way of there's a necessity or opportunity that's necessary. You can kind of maybe fill that niche or that niche value by being empowered to look in certain places to kind of figure out what industries are lacking, right? And instantly, right? So real quick, let me go over here real quick. I want to show y'all this real quick here too, since we on that topic there. If you think about that in terms of what inflation really looks like in terms of industry right now, right? Where are the sectors that are really, being heavily hit, right? And right off the cusp, we go right, to the government website. We're gonna go to their stuff, right? What they put out, right? Not none that we throwing out, right? We're gonna go to the Consumer Price Index summary report to see which aspect of it be the industry or sector of society or product value or service value that is being heavily affected the most by way of inflation. And we'll see exactly, there may be opportunities within that you may can fill a void, right? Build a better mousetrap. Connect with other people who may can offer you information about how to curtail some of those extra costs, right? Those ancillary costs that come along with being, in a high inflationary environment, right? And so this is the summary report on the BLS site, because as you see, this is U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. So this is the actual site, right? The BLS, right? And this is where you're going to be coming and watching Friday. This coming up this Friday, June 10th, to see what the latest CPI data numbers are going to look like, right? Whether that's going to be a tailwind for the stock market or a headwind to show that there's still more inflation that's still out there that still hasn't even made it through the system. And they're talking about peak inflation. We may not even be close to peak inflation till a year or so from now, right? But we'll kind of go through this stuff and kind of figure out what that looks like, right? So just hypothetically here, right? As you see here, this is the Consumer Price Index website speaking to the numbers that came out on the backside of April, right? Going into May, right? So this is a backwards, as they say, a lagging website value. So when the numbers come out Friday, it'll reflect that of May, right? Because the numbers that we get for June basically June 13th are going to be reflective of what? Of May and not April. April gave us what? 8.3, right? We got an 8.3 readout in terms of the April numbers, right? And so this is all items that are connected within that CPI report that are adversely affecting you one way or the other, right? So instantly, if you look down here, right, let me make sure it's blown up because I'm sitting there playing the little screen scenario here. So let me just take me off altogether so y'all can see it clearly here. So there'll be no confusion here. So let's even blow it up a little bit here, right? Let's see if we can get it big as we can before it goes off the screen. There we go. So again, we had an 8.3 readout. 8.3 readout on inflation. Let that marinate for a moment, right? Moment of silence for, anybody out there that's, under the illusion, right? The illusion that, everything's in the all clear, that, the government would not, do anything to kind of, lie to you or whatever, that they told you that inflation was transitory, that it's going to go down like really fast. They were telling you this basically back in January of 2021. Here it is, June of 2022, and they literally just admitted 3 to 4 months ago at most, 3 to 3 months ago, that it was not transitory. It took them over a year to tell the truth that they already knew that inflation was not going to be transitory. Why do we know that? Because they are the culprits that caused inflation. What do you mean, brother African Emporium? What do you mean they caused inflation, right? I thought it was because, of this reason or that reason or some greedy corporation. No, as we know it to be, how is inflation, I'm going to ask a very general question, right? Some of you guys in the back chat, tune in. What's going on, Brother Matthews? What's going on over Snotball? Family, everything in the building. What's going on to you guys? What's going on, Peacebound Profit, everybody? Over Rich in the building. If you could type in the back chat, what causes inflation, right? Type in the back chat, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you may be watching. What causes inflation by your understanding, right? And it's not whether you're wrong or you're right, but I'm just curious, right? What causes inflation, right? What causes inflation? You guys tell me, let me know what causes inflation from your perspective, right? If you will, what causes inflation, right? Quick little case study there, right? Quick little questionnaire, if you will, right? I'm curious, right? Because I know most of you guys already know what's going on, right? A lot of you guys are already on the grind. Y'all know how this stuff works, right? What's going on, Ilba Tamika in the building? Shout out to Ilba Tamika in the house. Shout out to her, right? What causes inflation, guys? I'm curious to see what you guys are thinking right now. I know what y'all probably think, but a lot of people who may tune in, again, this is that urban economic empowerment side where we're trying to connect with those people who are not necessarily, follow this up all day, every day. But we want to give them just as much as the, of the most pressing and important data that they need to go so they can go make better decisions for their household, right? So when we start thinking about, why you're in this mess of dealing with inflation, right? The first thing they're going to tell you that the government is going to tell you, and your news outlet media going to tell you is that what? It's caused by what? Right? They're going to tell you, number one, it's caused by what? At most, they may try to tell a half truth. They'll say, well, it's supply chain issues. The fact that we can't get everything mechanized and moved around and, ships are not being able to be offloaded properly and this, that, and the third is slowing up everybody so they can't sell the goods to you. Or the fact that, a lot of people just haven't completely returned back to work all the way quite yet. So that's a drag on the production, right? In terms of supply and demand aspect of it only. And that's what's causing inflation. And then last thing they're going to tell you that is what? Right? Not even probably the last thing. The first thing they're going to probably say, because they've been trained to accept the narrative that what? It's Putin's fault. Russia caused this pandemic inflationary, aspect, right? Coming out of the pandemic and the quarantine scenario, Russia with their, shenanigans with, going to war with Ukraine, that's what caused inflation. Now, you and I both know that even that war with Ukraine right now with Russia, that didn't start to what? To February. We had inflation middle of 2021, right? In the fall season of 2021. That was before there was even a thought about a Russia-Ukraine, right? People didn't probably know what Ukraine was on the map before then. And we already had inflation. So you can't say that it's Russia and Ukraine, right? So we know that's a bold-faced lie. Of course, we know that. But some people may not know that. They don't follow the stuff that we follow. They're not as intuitive as you guys are when it comes to knowing how this stuff works, right? So as you guys see in the back chat, you guys are already on the government spending, right? Fed policy, over printing money, right? A lot of that printing money. So you guys already know supply and demand, printing money, right? Sister Andy said Ukraine, right? Right. At some point, right, there's also an aspect where they also have some kind of responsibility in that too. Why? Because they did what, right? They are the ones who are, whether you are for or against, because we don't delineate the value of that. I leave everybody, to the extent to make their own decision how they feel about those kind of things. But I can assure you, right, them dragging this out as if they possibly can, I don't know, maybe defeat Russia, if you will, that's only exacerbating the issue even more. Why? Because we all have figured out and found out over time that Ukraine and Russia pretty much are the second and third biggest tier wheat producers literally on the planet. And if those two markets are off off the grid because they're in the middle of a theater or war, a civil conflict, basically what it is. People don't want to deal with that too. I get it. It's a civil war, right, amongst their own. Well, that just messed up the whole wheat, export scenario for them, right? Among other commodities that they offer there in terms of they offer a lot of potash, they offer a lot of fertilizer, they offer neon for neon gas, things of that nature, to actually make semiconductor chips. They have a few different natural resources that are very useful in helping build out the ecosystem in terms of our global economic base. And if any one of those lines go offline for any period of time, right, it could be a big problem. Why? Because now you got to find other exporters of those things, right? Who are, potential net exporters of those products, those commodities, whatever, and see if you can reroute some of those that business value into those nations, so to speak, right? And it's not always as easy as they would have you to believe, right? We just saw China literally, go on a zero policy shutdown where they just pretty much crushed everybody's economy. As the saying goes, no one man should have all this power. Well, guess what? Turns out China has a lot of power. Why? Because they are the biggest manufacturing hub on the planet. Or in this case, some would say the universe, right? Until we find another nation out there, on another planet that's doing what we do, right? China is the biggest net exporter of manufacturing goods on the planet. If they shut down, you suffer. Imagine that. You talking about leverage from a businessman perspective or a businesswoman perspective? If you have that much leverage on your job, man, look, you'll be slapping your boss in the mouth every time he looks at you crazy because you came in 5 minutes late. Look, I control the rules up in here, right? That's leverage. So as much as you may hear the government talk tough when it comes to China and, try to browbeat them because they may want to support people like India, or even support Russia and Putin, well, at the end of the day, it's all wolf tickets. Why? Because the only way you're going to get China off that, their square to bend to your will, or not even bend to your will to even to get their attention, is you cause a conflict with them. We're already in a Cold War with China still. Mind you guys, we have not lifted those tariffs yet. In China. That stuff is still happening right now as we speak. We also have a scenario where they're trying to delist Asian companies off our stock market exchanges. That's another bad, I don't know, a bad omen between, our relationship with China. And so you will hear people get on, these, right wing, even some of the left wing commentary talk shows off the beaten path type, and talk mad trash about China. But a majority of the stuff that's inside their house comes from China. Couldn't make this stuff up. Now you talking about, a triple hypocrite, right? America is a lot of hypocrites in America, clearly, right? A lot of wolf ticket people talk trash, talk tough, but they're dependent upon other people to feed them, clothe them, shelter them. Again, we got all this dead waste. I don't even call it wasteland. It's just land throughout the Midwest, not even being used for basic things like farming. So guess what's starting to happen? VCs, capitalists, whatever, big corporate CEOs, they're starting to get into the business of real estate and land ownership. That has always been a no off code move for corporations to kind of go in and take away land and housing from mainstream citizens. Of late, they've been saying, screw that. I'm going to go buy up a lot of property. We got the money to do it. Right? Everybody else is struggling a little bit. We're going to buy up all this property. Property going to raise the property tax in these environments because we're going to do a little extra stuff to guard up the place. That's going to cause the property value to go up. And that's also going to move other people out of those neighborhoods too that can't keep up with the escrow value or the tax value that's going to come along with that land. Right? They're choking people out. It's a reverse value of, I mean, you call it reverse value, but basically how you look at it, it's a reverse value of what? Of gentrification. Where the people, the corporation were supposed to be the people safeguarding that kind of industry for what? The average, everyday, hardworking citizen to come up in his or her own right and be able to acquire that part of the so-called quote unquote American dream is owning property. Right? And now they just said, scratch that. We're going to buy the property. They can't afford it. They broke, whatever, this, that, and the third. And now we're going to price them out even their own communities at some point down the line. We've already seen that happen in California. It's not even, again, even funny at this point what's starting to happen. Right? So this stuff matters, right? That's why we're going to talk about it in the way that we talk about it. So you think about this here, guys. Look at the things that are kicking everybody in their teeth right now. Food, right? Food prices, right? At home, 10.8%. Right? Away from home, basically eating out, 7.2%. Inflationary tax, that is. Imagine that. You had to pay an extra 10%, on an already expensive Chick-fil-A meal, right? If you eat Chick-fil-A, right? They might be charging you $7, $8, $9, $10 just for a value meal. And then you got to turn around and pay additional 7.2% tax on top of that. That's just the inflationary tax for the commodities, the French fries, the chicken, or the potatoes, I should say, basically even down the raw form. That's not even including the sales tax. You got sales tax and you got the inflationary tax. And some of you guys may have even other state taxes inside of that too, that goes along with the registry value of buying a product or a service through that particular state. I mean, they're hitting you taxing you 3 or 4 ways from Sunday. Couldn't make this stuff up. Energy costs, 30% increase on energy bills. Some people are paying more than that in some cases, because I heard some of the horror stories, right? Energy commodity prices up 44.7%. Gasoline, 43.6%. Keep in mind, this was April. Y'all know as well as I know. That number there is a lot higher than what it is right now. 43.6%, man, they laughing at that now. You paying up towards 50+% now. Upward towards 50+% on gasoline of all types. 89, 91, 93, 92 octane, diesel, kerosene, any of that stuff, right? You're ethanol, you're paying, at least a 50% plus kicker. And we talk about that just based upon what it looked like maybe a year ago, 2 years ago. You're already paying, some people are already paying well over 100% plus extra in terms of gas. They were paying maybe $2 and change for gas back in mid-spring, summer of 2020, right? Because y'all know oil market had a big crash, right? We got oil down, man. Some people even paying $1. We had some people showing $1.70, $1.80 in terms of gas during that time frame. Now they're paying $4 and $5 to $6 a gallon. That's almost a 300% increase on gas prices in less than 2 years. That typically never happens. It never happens unless there's something catastrophic that has happened in terms of bad management, bad governance that has caused that. Because if you can't account for a war or something to that nature, because we didn't have that, we just had a pandemic, quarantine, scenario, and shutdown, was actually what crushed the oil market, which made gas even cheaper, right? You couldn't really go a lot of places because you was kind of quarantined and locked in out, but gas was still cheap, right? Gas was still cheap. Now, post lockdowns and all this stuff like that, you come out of lockdown right into that bill. I can't say it no other way. It ain't funny, but it's tragic how they sit there. They played everybody. Because they could have been working these things out, in consecutive value in terms of what we got falls, reopening certain stages of the country. Remember, they had these little phases of reopening America. They should have been working on the gas producers, the refiners, all these different people, the Saudis, the Russians, the Venezuela, the South America, whomever they're getting oil from, and saying, hey, guys, y'all, just like us, y'all coming out of quarantine too, so let's make this easier for everybody. You may have some differences here and there, but at least we want to make sure we mechanize our industries and where we can get back to some kind of form of what? Production, right? For our factories, our airlines, whatever, trains, whatever, planes, trains, automobiles, boats, whatever. That stuff did not happen. Not in a way that we know it should have. Why? Because turns out, again, if they're going to blame this on what? The pandemic, being elongated, longer than necessary, or the value that we had supply chain issues because certain ships was, docked out to sea and couldn't offload stuff. We know that's a whole bunch of malarkey. That's baloney. That's foolishness, right? You know as well as I know that's not the case. It was what it has always been and what it will always be. When you're dealing with inflation, it's caused by one thing and one thing only. Now, there's times where it could be a cost push kind of value of inflation, right? Right? It can be times when that kind of, it happens. Those things happen far and few between, more so than demand pull, right? Demand pull, when you increase too much demand value and not enough value of supply, well, that seems to make more sense. Why? Because if everybody was on lockdown, there was what? Less production. There was less people mining the mills at a lumber yard, right? There's less people mining the refineries at a gas producing what? Plant, right? Or refinery, right? Think about that. This is not even rocket science, right? And certain sensitive areas that need production, if they are shut down because there's not personnel there, that's going to what? Exacerbate issues that gives us what? The fluidity of having those things that we need more than average. And gasoline, heating oil, natural gas, whatever, right? Chickens, cow, if you eat that's vegetables, whatever, y'all get it. Not up for debate. And that's why some of those are the most expensive things that got hit the hardest up and down this BLS, summer report. You can see that's why those were some of the higher prices, right? Because those things are things that are more ubiquitous. People buy those things more than average. Like, you don't go out and buy a house like every other month, right? Every other, 3 months, every other, 6 months or a year. You don't buy a house like that, that repetitively, right? Clearly. But you buy food and gas dang almost every day, right? If not every day for some of y'all, right? Y'all just gonna be going in, right? So keep that in mind. So if you're looking at this and saying, "What, man, I didn't understand this stuff, man, but I need to have these kind of conversations or get with other people who think like this so I can figure out what's going on so I can better equip myself to prepare myself for what's to come," because we're not in the all clear. They will have you believe that this stuff is starting to abate. It's starting to pull back. We've already had the peak value of inflation. Everything that the Feds are doing at this point is enough to bring inflation down. Mind y'all, guys, we got 8.5% inflation, 8.3% inflation. And that's just their number. That's not even the true number because they took out food and energy. Those are the biggest costs that you have is food and energy. Now, y'all know if they was adding that into it as well, we'll be at least like 16 or 15% inflation right now. Easily. But the fact that they don't, that's them cooking the books to make you feel like, well, those things are too what? They're too volatile to give you that, the ability to make that kind of assessment, right? We can't put that into our readout because we know those numbers are what? Too volatile, right? A bunch of foolishness. It's like they're lying to you in your face and making you accept that. Again, that's why you need to come to channels like this so you can get the raw, the skinny, the truth, unfiltered truth. And this is all primary sources. This is not me adding whatever. I'm giving you a primary source to say this is the real true nature of what you're dealing with. Not that what they're telling you, but what is the reality. And even though these numbers can be cooked, and these, if they are cooked, they're actually cooked in the benefit of the government. So if that's the case, they even bad and they cook numbers. Right? Think about that. They're bad and cooked numbers. Let that marinate for a moment. Right? Let that marinate. Right? So again, it just goes to show you, like a brother, everything said what? 2 dozen eggs at Walmart, $12.79. $12.79 for a carton of eggs. Right? Couldn't make this stuff up, guys. Bro, you talking about cooking eggs in the morning? Like, people, when I was small, because I don't eat eggs now, that's just me. But back in the day, you get like a dozen. They used to have like 24 pack back in the day. You get them big old 24 pack egg, and you get a whole 24 pack for like what? $2, $3, what, about $3, right? $3 somewhere around there. Back in the day, it used to be like $3 for 24 eggs and some change. Now, bruh, right? That $12.79 times 2, right? They ain't need to get 2 dozen eggs. That man, look, bruh. Let that marinate for a moment. We talking about eggs, right? Eggs, right? And so you can imagine what the milk cost is going to be. You can imagine what, all the other things that come along with, with that. We already know, that's before we even get to that conversation, what happened with what? The baby formula scenario. They had ample time to fix that. They did not. They chose not to. So essentially what we're dealing with here, guys, you're dealing with a system that is going to convince you that, they're doing everything in their power to fix this, but they're doing everything in their power to show you that they're not fixing it. Why? Because the one person that's in control and really fixing inflation that caused inflation is the Federal Reserve. They are, as of today, we have a 0.75 interest rate bearing value on the Treasury to denote fighting inflation that's sitting at 8.3%. We're not even at 10% of what the inflation is, and they're talking about fighting inflation with a 0.75 rate hike. They're talking about giving you a raise on a job. You got like a little 3% kicker raise or 5% kicker raise, but inflation is sitting at 8.3%. You instantly lose all that entire what? You lose that entire raise through inflation alone. Your energy bill in itself eat that little, extra little 3%, 5% raise that you got. Couldn't make this stuff up. They're telling you that things are improving. They got the tools to really make those things become a reality, but they're not going to use them. Why? Because the government has found a way to use their leverage, their power to keep you dependent upon what? Their every word, their beck and call. They enjoy this power. They're drunk off this power. And the fact that the average citizen goes out and votes in a way where they give away their power to these politicians and expect nothing in return, they never going to stop and say, well, you know what? We're doing wrong by these American people. Let's give them back the government that they're supposed to be running. The government that's supposed to be working for them, for them, supposed to be for them and working for them. Let's go and give it back to them. They're never going to do that. They're never going to do that at this point until what? There's a major shift up or a shake up in terms of the Main Street American citizen. Again, January 6th, that little scenario, guess what? Look, they know as well as I know. They don't want that smoke. That was a lot of anger, people for a lot of whatever reasons, but nonetheless, however, whether wherever you stand on that, they don't want that happening ever again, because for that moment, they got very, what? For me, I think if I had to do a psyche valve on a lot of those people that were in the Capitol that day, right? I can imagine all the ones who know they did dirt by the American people, who sold the American people out in their own specific districts or whatever. They start having, flashbacks of all the dirt they did, all the stealing they've been doing, all the jerry-rigging, the economy that's in those states, and how they benefited and routed corporate interests over that of the American people. They probably start having like flashbacks, like, man, I know I shouldn't have did that. This is karma coming back to get me. I may not even leave out this Capitol Day. They may kill me. I can almost guarantee a lot of those are feeling that way. And so the fact that they continuously just make these kind of bad policy decisions over your tax dollars, that's an extension of why there needs to be a change, right? Either you need to vote with the intention of getting something in return, or you need to become more financially astute on how to benefit, from the system by not going exactly through the value of the system, if that makes sense, right? Around the system, so to speak, right? Not sitting there waiting on a person just alone to cut you a check. You need to figure out ways to cut your own check, right? That's what this conversation is really about too, because if you're going to speak to the value of the urban economic empowerment perspective of what we consider to be business ownership, or the ability to create your own lane, create your own, money. Well, the Federal Reserve do it almost every day. They create money out of thin air and give it to corporations, big money lobbyists, other people outside these borders, and they do it willingly. But they will give it to everybody except you. Make that make sense. Right? Make that make sense, guys. Right? Couldn't make this stuff up. And a lot of people sleep at the wheel trying to convince themselves that this is natural. Like, how? They'll make excuses for their politician or their or their particular political base. Like if y'all still playing that game in 2022, good luck, right? No swipe at you, but I'm going to say it outright. Good luck if you're still playing political plebiscite games right now. Right? If you're playing these political plebiscite games, good luck. If you like, one gang member over the other, good luck. If you like one wing of the buzzer over the other, good luck. That's just my opinion. Because this ain't no slander at your little political affiliation, but I'm gonna tell you from where I sit and from what I've witnessed and from what I'm able to pull up and read through these BLS sites, the Federal St. Louis websites, and this New York Federal Reserve site, and all these different websites that show you exactly what's happening with the money of America. If you're still comfortable in playing that political game and playing the game of hurry up and wait, the benign neglect game that they put in front of you every single day, good luck. That's all I'm gonna say is good luck, because you're gonna be waiting a lifetime to get what's owed to you. What's going on, Ilba Monica Lamb in the building? Miss Monica Lamb in the building. Shout out to her. Go subscribe to her YouTube channel as well. I'm gonna send a link out in a minute too, guys, to get y'all on the panel, because we got to have the discussion. Because this is a part of our Urban Economic Empowerment show, and we're also doing a stock trading class as well, all in one. So right now, we definitely speaking to that urban economic empowerment side on the financial literacy side to make this stuff very layman terms, right? Very layman terms, right? So y'all guys can be comfortable and figuring out what this stuff is. So again, the BLS website where you can get this data from, let me post that here so you guys can follow along even on your own cell phone, computer, whatever. Here's the BLS website here, guys, right? Again, no special privilege here. You don't have to have any login information, no credentials, none of that stuff. This is just pure outright, where to go to get what you need, right? Basically simple as that, right? All right. You say, I'm going to the restream. All right. Yeah, I'm going to set it up. Well, I'll send you the link, Sister Monica. I don't know if you're going to do it by way of this through your channel too, or you're just going to do something different. Either way, let me know. Let me know, sis. All right. But there's the BLS website there, guys. You can go follow along with this information verbatim and see exactly what I'm saying. So there ain't nothing special that I'm showing you on the screen that you can't pull up yourself, because you got to know how to hunt. You need to learn how to fish. You need to know where to go to get real information, void of what the government telling you, than what your local media outlet may be telling you, right? Or even these mainstream media, talking heads are telling you. No, you're like, no, that's wrong, because I went to this website and here's the real raw number, right? Like, debunk their foolishness before they even get started trying to lie to you, right? So that's important. So I want you guys to be comfortable in that, right? Because in doing so, you're going to learn a lot about, again, how the corporation of America really works, the system, right? The status quo of benign neglect. Let's call it what it is. This is a system of benign neglect. It only going to, pedestal those people who are more interest accruing type of individuals over everybody else, meaning those who are the lobbyists, those who pad the pockets of politicians, those who play by the rule of pay to play, right? Those who, again, sit in other nations, off the shorelines of America, and somewhat dangle carrots of business co-ops in a way where government officials take that mantle and sell out the American people to aid in somebody else's problem, as opposed to the people that they're being voted to represent. Case in point, Ukraine, right? Ukraine, right? Turns out there's over 4 or 5 politicians that had money ties to Ukraine before that war popped off. And this is why they're fighting so hard to protect it, because they have money ties that they was getting be the on record or off the books. Turns out this is why they're going so hard to use your tax dollars to support them. Now, granted, we know that war is atrocious and people die. Again, men, women, and children, never a good thing. And in terms of that, but you realize how life really works is about, again, you protecting your tribe and your tribe first and foremost, right? Until they stop playing that game and trying to play on people's heartstrings to make them fall in line to that, while you suffering and they fattening up somebody else's their coffers, buying them new houses with your tax dollars, and you can't even pay your own mortgage and rent. Somebody make that make sense. And I know that's going to rub some people the wrong way. Like, well, how could you say that? I'm saying that because, number one, I'm not beholden to the status quo. Number two, I'm my own brain. I am my own brain. I am my own brain. Need I say anymore? I know how to produce my own thought, produce my own value, of data that I can pull from other sources to make my own decisions with, basically. Right? So you have to be comfortable being able to, forcibly sit down, accept the value that, what you're dealing with in terms of what the government is offering you, which is this, scraps or whatever like that. Well, you have the ability to change that scenario, right? There's different ways that you can, submit yourself to opportunity out there, right? Again, if it's not just going out and getting a full-fledged business ownership, it ain't hard to start an LLC. The fact that you can delineate between, separating your personal from your, from your business aspect alone, it could be something as simple as drop shipping. That's an extension where you may even use the tax system as leverage, as a benefit, so to speak. And a lot of us are working, diligently to kind of make those things come into fruition. It's playing ball by the rules that they put out there in a way that's not keeping you, recruited by their side and their side only, right? If you will, right? So that stuff matters again. So we want to speak to that a little bit, because if you sitting there looking at these numbers on this BLS website and saying, well, how is this stuff right here, how is this even logical? Like, how are you going to survive with these kind of numbers here? And if they tell you that these numbers, again, have peaked, and you are still seeing $8, $7, whatever, $9 at the gas pump, then somebody lying. If natural gas, those prices through the roof, if certain aspects of the food costs are still up or more expensive than it was before, because we know the food shortage is starting to happen right now. That's the other phase of how inflation turns into stagflation, when there's a domino effect of industries that start to suffer, go under, because their ability to fix the problem initially, early on, did not get fixed. And because of that, what they call a brush fire has now turned into a forest fire. The wheat shortage because of Ukraine and Russia, rice shortage, the fact that India, which is a big next exporter of wheat as well, they said we're not going to export any of our wheat. We need to keep that stuff for our own people in our nation. That threw another monkey wrench in the plans of Europe, America, those people who depend on wheat outside of Ukraine, Egypt, one of the biggest importers of wheat on the planet. I found that out during this whole issue with inflation. The nation of Egypt is the biggest importer of wheat on the planet. They produce almost like the most bread of any nation on the planet. And without that wheat, they breadless. Figuratively and literally. They are breadless in Egypt right now. Couldn't make this stuff up. Right? So there's a lot that goes along with how, again, these so-called people of power are out there just mismanaging the people that, they're in charge to work for. They're just mismanaging these people tax dollars or their trust. For their own corporate greed, corporate gain. They just out there just willy-nilly just doing all kind of and everything. I mean, it's tragic, right? Like this stuff is just tragic. But we get why they're doing it. We understand that it's deeper than what people will have you believe. And if you don't realize that, you'll be in trouble. I mean, think about it, baby formula right now. Baby formula right now. Like I'm really thinking about just ordering a lot in bulk from overseas, right? And get on Craigslist or Amazon, eBay, Etsy, and start selling baby formula just like this right here. It's tragic. It ain't funny, but it's that bad, guys. It's that bad. I couldn't make this stuff up, right? You become the neighborhood baby formula producer. If I got that dry Similac, I got that dry Enfamil. Nah, bro, I got that organic stuff, right? Right? I got the organic stuff, right? My stuff way better than y'all stuff, right? It really is that bad, guys. Where there's a shortage of baby formula in America. And the biggest producer of it, who knew, was Abbott, Abbott Labs. It was Abbott Labs. Those same people actually make the COVID test. I don't know if y'all, that was the free one that you got from the government, the Abbott Lab test that the post office sent out to y'all. That was Abbott Labs. They also make baby formula and a lot of other things too. Who knew, right? Who knew? Couldn't make this stuff up, right? So you learn as you go in some cases, and it's edifying because once you know, you should move different, right? You should move better, right? Right? You should move with more, preciseness, so to speak, right? And that's why conversations like this are very important, because if you don't have a place to kind of go and figure out what's going on in around your situation, from an unfiltered perspective, then you'll just kind of be falling for anything, right? They say, buy, either you what, you basically fall for anything, right? You fall for anything, right? And again, to me, that's just problematic because I don't see the people out there who are, humble and honest, who are really trying to figure out, how to make their life, more substantial for them to be able to enjoy it, at the full extent of what they feel like they can. Yeah, they just being treated like, again, second-rate citizens, so to speak, right? It's sad, right? But you're paying, you bought into the dream, you've been buying, into the idea that these people are going to do right by you, and they're not, right? They're not, right? That's the problem, right? That's a problem, especially when it comes to me. I find it to be very problematic that people still fall in line with, the lies of a system that's pretty much lying to you every day and telling you that it's something that is not. Like make that make sense, right? First of all, when people are like, well, make that make sense, I'm asking that same question. Make that make sense, right? Because it does not make no sense to me, right? None, right? And they say none, right? It does not, right? So that's why we need to have that conversation. So I'm gonna get the link out, guys. I'm gonna start to send the link out to you guys if y'all want to come on the panel and talk about this a little bit more, right? We're gonna get into that arm of group discussion here. I want to invite you guys to come on here so we can build on this here. I'm saying right, overshadows like baby formula for the low, bro. I know, right? It's tragic, man. It's funny, but it's crazy. But that there's a shortage of baby formula, like a shortage of baby formula. Like this is 2022, guys. Look, they got more lobster and shrimp in Vegas right now than baby formula needed for babies around the world, or at least in America. Like they got all this, abalone and all this expensive caviar, sturgeon, caviar from sturgeon fish and all this stuff like that. But they can't even come up with some kind of great ingenuity value of some of these corporate engineers to come up with a way to improve the output of baby formula for babies. Like, seriously, somebody make that make sense. Like, somebody square that inside of your head and make that make sense. Anybody, right? Like anybody, right? This is the extent of the system. This is the extent of how they play people, and they try to cause the rift between each like us, like so we can be distracted from the real true problem, right? The real true culprits, right? The scenario where we know it's bigger than our small squabbles or whatever. There's a very insidious nature of a system in play to separate you from from what your tax dollars are supposed to be working for. Right. So again, I have a problem with that because it's like, man, how are they allowing this stuff to continue to happen like this over and over and over? Right. So again, the ideal of gas, right? Another one, gas. Right. Every day the gas prices go up. There should be a selfie picture of Joe Biden taking it just like this right here, saying he made history every time the price goes higher. So when people, think about that, when they get ready to go to the polls, they say, well, yeah, the reason that I'm paying all this, this extra in gas right now is because of you, right? It's because of you, right? And you had the ability to fix a lot of this stuff, and you chose to ship my money to Ukraine, or send it somewhere else besides, into my bank account. I have a problem with that. You want to give it to, everybody else except, us or me. See, this is the ideal, I think, with the value of, the political science, value of how America's going to get a crash course on figuring out exactly what, this system is basically designed to do, who it works for. People going to get a crash course on political science right now. And for once, maybe they'll start voting as if they have an agenda, as opposed to voting because they feel like they have a right to, right? Which is the most ludicrous thing ever, to say that I have a right to vote, so I'm just going to vote so I can get me a sticker. But what are you getting in return? I'm just voting for a side. Okay, well, what are they going to do for you? What are they going to, do to make your quality of life better? Well, it doesn't matter. I just don't like the other side. Like this, bruh, right? Like your head start hurting as soon as you start talking to certain people who follow that kind of same regimen, expecting different results, right? They are in they're so inebriated with, you know, insanity that it actually seems normal to them now, right? They're living vicariously in an insanity reality show, and it seems normal to them now. Like this is like crazy. Like, so they, all these powerless people don't understand that the power that they have and possess, even by way of their vote and their vote alone, and they just squander that away too. They couldn't make this stuff up. So anyway, so it's getting bad out here, right? So the inflation numbers are I mean, are just, you know, running rampant. We got a big print coming up this Friday. No matter how that number comes out, it still is not going to be able to assess truly the extent of why inflation is nowhere near peaking and or going away. Why? Because again, like any kind of form of business, if you're making bigger money than you did literally 4 months ago, and you don't have to have any extra output or production value, who's going to walk away from that morally or ethically, even if it's legal that they can still do that? Who's going to walk away from that just for the greater good of American people? There are not many people who do that on the corporate side. Why? Because you're talking about people who are what? Naturally greedy, naturally want bigger what? Bonuses and payouts and, you know, golden parachute, you know, retirements. They need to, you know, their need to have more, want more comes from knowing that the government has allowed such a what, you know, level of I don't know, this whole, you know, kind of run over the little people as much as possible because they haven't figured out yet how to, you know, move in certain lanes like that to reap the benefits of, you know, being these kind of mega corporate you know, industry scenarios. To me, it's just still ludicrous because again, a lot of people work for these people and they're being, number one, underpaid for the production they put out because they can never pay you what your worth is. We already went through that like a million times. And then number two, the value that you're getting, you know, less than what you need because the cost of living is going up every year. And these companies and corporations knows that, and they still choose not to give you the proper raise that you need. And the government is not forcing them to do it. Keep in mind, guys, minimum wage is still $7.25 federally. Federal minimum wage is still $7.25. You're paying literally, you know, 8 to 9 to 10% kicker through inflation on that little bit of $7.25, right? So you think about that. That's like a 10%, you know, dang near 10 to 15% drawdown on that minimum wage. Like, couldn't make that stuff up. So let's say for every $7 you make, subtract 10% off that. So that's 70 cents. Think about that, 70 cents off that $7. So technically you're making what? $6.30 an hour. Even though your pay stub says what? $7 an hour or $7.25. But we're talking about a 10% drawdown because of inflation on top of that little $7. Now, how you gonna survive with that? Forbid you have children, right? Forbid you have children. How you gonna survive with that? Y'all see how that works? So this is the extent of understanding how this system works because they're gonna railroad you into all kind of talking points to get you distracted and not deal with, or you know, at least hold their feet to the fire and force them to what? To do your bidding or the will of the American people. Because again, to them, it's all about the corporations. What's going on, Ilba Angie? I see you in the building. Shout out to Ilba Angie in the house. Miss Monroe, Urban Roundtable, right? In the house. Again, having this discussion today. These are things I'm sure you talk about a lot through the panels that you are in as well. And again, conversations like this are needed because you need to have an ability to talk and strategize and think tank through these portals. Why? Because filtered truth from the government. We know that at this point. So where you at in this terms?
I'm wondering. People asking about recession when it started. I'm like, isn't this recession? I don't know. Isn't this depression? I was like, what the hell? It's so funny. It's crazy what's going on, and it's like it's sad that we gotta sit aside and wait to be told what's in front of our eyes. You know, so like these types of lessons and trainings help because you get to see beyond any facades. You know, you don't have to like take all of the pomp and circumstance and all of the propaganda.
And for what it's worth, again, the fact that people, if they haven't figured out now that a lot of the circles that they're in, if they haven't figured out how to start expanding their circles to be more well informed after they went through being lied to, even talking about even just dealing with the pandemic there alone, with how they even mismanaged the healthcare sector side of things, right? Through the virus and so-called the vaccines, whatever.
Right.
They went through that, and they still sitting there waiting on the government to tell them the unequivocal
Exactly.
truth. Like, are you
You didn't
kidding
go
me?
through that. You didn't go. That wasn't what you went through. That wasn't
Like,
what you went through.
your health was literally on the line, and you allowed them to lie to you in a lot of ways. And people are still like, "No, I'm gonna give them another pass." Like, yeah. Like, couldn't
Lord,
make this
that's
stuff
total
up.
brainwashing. Yeah, that is total brainwashing when you wait to be told what you're seeing. You know, it's crazy, crazy.
I mean, it's like everybody's facing. So for me, again, it's not even about playing the game of, okay, well, what is my other alternatives, right? What alternatives do I have? I don't have any other way. Of course, you have alternatives. Who told you that you didn't have other alternatives?
Right.
And the fact that sometimes if you even look at the alternatives as an alternative, that's a problem in itself, because again, you want to have truth or you want the whole truth,
Just that they gotta ask the
right?
question is really scary.
Or you want the whole
It's like,
lie,
can we eat? Can we eat? Is that food? Is that not food? Can we eat? Like, do we
right?
need to eat?
I'm like seriously, like, make that make sense. You want to be lied to repetitively to the point where, again, you figure it to be, okay, this is normal.
Exactly.
There's some people like
Yeah.
that. I'm like how?
Yes.
Right? Some of
No,
us like, nah, I ain't a liar. I
I'm
ain't a
the
liar.
one that
I ain't a
sneaks in
liar.
the VIP and get the good food. I don't wait outside with the. I don't want the
Right,
donuts and coffee. I want the steak. Well, then I
right.
did.
You behind the dumpster every day at the local whatever, right? Well, I just take whatever y'all throw out the back, right? And
Exactly.
I mean, like, and they'll take all that food that they just cook and throw it in the dumpster, and like Burst be at the back door, like, man, why don't you just give it to me? Don't throw it away. It's a recession right now. It's inflation right
Wow,
now. Right? I
that's sad.
can't even feed my family with my little money right now. Don't tell me you got to throw it away because of policy, and you're gonna throw it away anyway, and people hungry. That's the extent of America right now, guys. Make that make sense. Somebody, anybody make that make sense.
No sense. There's no sense.
We're gonna throw these burgers in the trash at the end of the night. I
That
can't give
that's
them to you
what's
because
being valued
policy.
right now. How much nonsense could you make, for distraction? Like that's the value today, right now. That's what they're paying for.
Boom. They want you to accept that as normal. While people are starving and hungry, they want to accept the fact that a company like a Chick-fil-A or whomever, that says at the end of the day, when we go to throw away all our excess inventory that we cannot repurpose for the next day, we have to put it in the dumpster. It has to go to the landfill. We cannot give it to the people
That's
that's
sad.
behind the restaurant, waiting beside the dumpster, right? We
Mhm.
cannot give it to that person or that hungry person or that whatever. We cannot.
When you look at all those potatoes being rounded up and all, that's scary. All of that food wasted, and get rid of your food or else you'll get Agent Orange. That's sick. That's sick, sick, sick.
And here it is, food prices are up over 10+% at home
Hmm.
value, and eating out 7+% on that side of things.
Can't. But then we're buying these things that are crazy price that are not actually food. So then, to me, it's like, we didn't
Double
need to be
whammy.
eating it anyway.
It's two-edged sword, right? It's like it's crazy. So at some point there has to be some kind of value of, again, a medium or a place where, you, again, you got to find places that aid in your ability to learn how to hunt better, to think a little bit more well-rounded, to get off this old, believing what everybody says, right? Kind of reality,
Right,
right? Especially when it comes to,
right.
the
Exactly.
so-called consensus of those who are in place that are in your face every day, like the corporate media and government scenarios like that alone, right? Like
Hmm.
these people have an agenda. They're looking at you from a place of in their mind as leverage, right? Because they know information is the greatest weapon on the planet. It's information, or the lack
Hmm.
thereof, if from your perspective, or even the fact that you can't determine or delineate what's good information or not, that in itself is leverage.
Huge experimentation. This is all that is. It's the
Clearly,
crossing over into the whole, the AI thing and moving the markets into that, getting the banks. I mean, the banks look.
clearly.
What was it? Chase. joined up with E-Trade, right? And there's when there's no such thing, I guess, when that happens for this, decentralization loses its case. Like when the banks are actually taking on the trading
Right. This whole
companies.
idea of, and that's the latest thing about even the SEC. SEC got this whole issue with mom and pop retail trading. And the biggest crooks ever has always been Wall Street what? The Wall Street what?
Yeah,
Regular.
the traders and investors. Yeah.
It has always been the corporation. It's always been the market makers. It always been the
Yeah.
Goldman Sachs and the JP Morgan. Those
Oh, yeah.
have always
Black
been the biggest
Rock.
crooks, the white collar crooks. But they want to go after mom and pop retail because at some point throughout this scenario, a few of these people figured out how to get them a nice little bag by way of the what? Corporate policy based upon the Federal Reserve pumping all this money, and they just bought stocks to benefit off of. And now the system in itself is somewhat mad at those people, not the people who were trying to rig the mess up to steal money from the retail.
Yeah, but you see another thing that we have to get out of the habit of, which is hard, is they make an example of the mom and pops. They don't have their advertising. They don't have their publicity out like that. You know what I'm saying? If they publicize everything that happened in a bank in one day, we would never trust a bank.
You
But
wouldn't go in the
it's
institution.
always publicizing with the mom and pop, with the average layperson does a day.
That's right.
Yeah.
Take that lens off them.
Exactly.
As if anybody who has leverage, and how they try to use that is that they always try to make it seem as if you're the problem, or you're the one that's been afflicted, right? They're afflicting you, but when you go to complain about it, it's like, well, you're hurting me by complaining about it. Like, what the hell is that?
Yes.
Like, what the hell is that? Like, no, you're the one that's calling, but you want me to be sensitive about you.
That's gaslighting. That's the best form of gaslighting. It's simple. Yeah, that's gaslighting.
So you see how this is reverse psychology, right? Man, shout out to Dr. Amos N. Wilson, right? Shout out to the ancestors, Dr. Amos N. Wilson. Like, people like that, his work is legendary for helping people, understand the psychoanalysis that they're bombarded by every single day, up and down the so-called food chain. Up and down the food chain. You need to understand your prey every single day if you're dependent upon somebody else to give you information, food, clothing, and shelter every day, all day. You're prey. Right? You have no other means to protect your situation or even your sanity. You're prey. You're walking prey. Right? You're a three-legged gazelle. Right? Sometimes even a two-legged gazelle on the plains of Africa, and everything out there want to eat you. Good luck getting away. Right?
Yeah.
Good luck getting away. Right? And they depend on people falling into that category more than often, because for them, again, it's a tax dollar, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a head count. It's a grant. It's a subsidy based upon the fact that these people are not going to move according to benefit truly from every extent of the government. They keep a lot of information kind of off the beaten path. You got to forcibly crowbar your way in to get certain information like that, which should be very universal. They make it so hard for you even to get basic information.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that most of the information that they're dealing with, they dealt with 10 years ago. Like what we're seeing is like, it's like looking at the light of the sun. The sun let that light off years ago, and we're just seeing it now. Like that. They operate that way. We're complaining about stuff they did 10 years ago. We're just looking at the residual, the result of it. That's how come they could be ahead of the ball.
That's a good point, because we know industry lags. And information lags, right? Y'all already know, right? I know I'm sitting in amongst a pantheon of people who are avid thinkers here, and you guys get it because within understanding how business works from this perspective, right? If you have a specific skill set that is very useful, right? The use case alone turns, even as the information, if you're not even having the application portion, but just having the information alone is powerful, right? Because it can help someone curb the mistakes that they're going to walk into by believing, the lie or the ideal of bad information. How did you kind of funnel into that over and over again, and then continuously try to force that scenario to work, right? I mean, a lot of people have gone through that, like, this gotta work, it's gotta work, and they just kind of mess up, keep going and say, like, dude, stop. Like pull back, right? Just stop. It's not even worth it. So, I mean, so let's go. Let's get through the
Yes,
panel. Right?
yes.
What's going on over Chris? What's going on, Ilba Monica, man? We having this discussion day, right? We're doing our own offshoot of the Urban Economic Empowerment Show. You know, mix that with our training session with the stock market. We're gonna get into that too. But just dealing with what we're having this discussion about right now. I mean, what's your guys' take on, you know, the extent of information when it comes to policy, when it comes to all these so-called indicators of, you know, inflation and the ideal stagflation is here now, recession, right? They even scared to throw around the R word. See how they make that stuff like it's like pulling teeth for them needing to tell the truth about things like that, right? What's y'all take on that? What do you guys think about that?
I'm so mad with policy right now because I'm deep in the community involvement with the housing piece, and they threw mainly from the they threw the money into urban areas. Well, use the statistics in the rural areas, and then they put the money there and said, okay, 62-year-old and older, you can get a $10,000 up to $50,000. So 10,000 in grant up to 50,000 in a loan. It's low and moderate income is poverty, unincorporated, and then come back and say, oh, if your debt to income ratio is over 46%, you can't get it. Well, if the person is on Social Security disability, they no longer work. And they got a mortgage, how is their debt to income ratio going to qualify? Like, how do you do that? How do you put money? How do you use statistics? Say we're gonna come out and help them, and then wean them out, and then comes back and say, hey, tell the contractor they need to lower the amount of their invoice. But like we say,
in an inflationary environment at that.
Yes, like, are we serious? Like, we have a community meeting on Friday. Again, we had over African Emporium. We had over 100 homeowners show up at the first week. Over 62. So these are in some people's parents, some people's grandparents, right? Working citizens. I'm not talking about people who ain't do nothing, but they just don't fix income now. And that fixed income just doesn't equate.
It's not going to equate.
Helping out.
That, whatever they had coming into this that was static, it is now under by 7%, 8%, 10%.
Yes. And do you know, so all of the agencies, almost all the agencies have funding in housing, HUD, USDA. I mean, everybody got housing money, right? Reparations folks, in the cities, put money in housing. Like when I saw that, I said, oh my God, they bamboozled them. Because guess what? If you already in a destitute area and your credit is not up to par, you're not going to qualify. And
so they just hit you, they instantly weed out a lot of people by making the bar this high, right? Unrealistically, and say, if you don't meet this, knowing that they're not going to meet it because of
they're going to take the money and redirect it. So Representative Johnson, shout out to Representative Johnson, man, he boots on the ground. Oh my goodness. And Senator Jackson and they have, they came out to the meeting, but I called them and I said, hey man, I said, I'm in tears because in USDA, we had all of these officials out. Clybourne office had all these officials out. Yeah. And we said, man, listen,
they talked this door. Please do kicking this door of all.
They talked the real game, and we have all these people. These are real people. They're gonna show up again on the 10th. And now they're saying, first they say, oh, it's just a soft credit pool. And now they're telling these folks, if you're crediting a certain score, you can't get this, that, or whatever. I said, man, listen, Representative Johnson started cursing.
Right?
He said,
like, y'all got to be kidding me. I can imagine.
Yes, because they stood there and made it look as if, oh yeah, it won't be a problem. Just make sure the paperwork is good. So then I was watching the sisters live and she was talking about the HUD one. And I wanted to just inbox her so bad and say, sis, let me tell you what you get ready to go through, because they put 10.3 billion in HUD for the same thing that USDA is doing, rural area. They know where to go. They know where to go to redirect the money. So it goes, your conversation you was having earlier about knowing who to vote for and politics. Listen, we beating the door down. We gotten some funding from our state. I will pat them on the back. But the programs that they help write, they weaning themselves out. Like, how you gonna give us something and take it right back? I felt like I was in the military. Give you $100 and take back 99. Like, for real though. And it's crazy. So you're hit. I mean, you're on it tonight because that's the frustration we have on the ground right now. That 10, I think Angie, or you may have said it, the 10-year, we're feeling the effects for something that happened 10 years ago. So when I called the senators, I said, and we was texting them, can you guys change the rule, right? Give the benefit of the doubt. If this has been put in place in 2016 and it's 2022, 10,000 is not enough to do a roof, And they say, well, when
Price of lumber, the nails, the metals. See,
you know what they gonna say? They're gonna say, well, you need to get them up to par. They need to fix their credit and help them, or you need to get the contractors to lower it. So I was like, unfair.
Everybody except the problem that has caused it on the upper echelon who allowing these things to happen. They can't manage their books properly to help the taxpayers who are doing their part. And this is the insidious nature of government, right? The pipeline between those at the top as how it's supposed to filter down to everybody properly with good management. So if your management department is sucking, your C-suite is sucking, how can you be convinced to go to work for that every day?
And look, here's the flip, AE. Here's the flip. So that, and if our contractor, so here's what the agency gonna say, well, if your contractor that you selected can't do the work for that dollar amount, then you need to find other contractors. Contact the people and say, we have contractors. So you know what that means, right? We already know what that means. Redirect to other contractors.
And most times it's going to be already, Jerry. They already going to have them people in a specific basket.
Yes. So they're going to.
But hey, we tried to help help them out. They did not, again, meet the deadline or the amendments that we had in play. So we already kind of got this money out there. We got awarded to some people because we don't want to get absolved back to the feds or whomever. So let's give it to so-and-so, so-and-so.
Or give the contract to their folks because they can get the big lines of credit because if you think about it, you do 10, 20, you get 10,000, you do 100, we got 100 people showing up. You already know you got 100 houses that you're gonna put them up and put them down. You get 10,000 per house. You in there, of course you're gonna take the job.
Again, couldn't make this stuff as 1%, right? The extent of just knowing how they're playing these, it's like, I mean, because they know a lot of people who are indigent, either on both sides, information and or resources, but they're feeling like, okay, at least, if these set-asides been set in place for me to be able to access them, regardless, there should be, number one, layers on there to help me understand all the necessary criteria and go out their way to help facilitate me in being able to either meet the standard, which we know that's not the case because, again, they don't preach financial literacy in this nation. When it comes to basic information, as you would think it to be basic, right? As they have it set up in terms of how policy is supposed to meet the average everyday citizen in a layman terms perspective to give them every, advantage they need to be able to access these benefits, whatever. That in itself is a problem in America. It's like pulling teeth to get people who work even at the unemployment office to do right by you, to give you what you deserve it to. You got to pull teeth at the DMV to get licensed. It's simple stuff like that. So this is the energy of America, even with its customer service sucks umpteenth degree. And they'll make an excuse about some other nation that says they deal with no nonsense business in another nation, but the people are very direct in terms of how they do business with their people. So not to come up in there. The people here are just outright raggedy though, right? The people behind the desk are outright raggedy, right? Because they got leverage over you because you're coming in there with a need. And they're the ones in front of you, like,
listen, you ain't have. Lynn got the nerve to say, I'm over 4 counties and I haven't I've received one packet in 4 counties. You're over 4 counties? Are we serious? And then I received one, and then got there say, oh, well, if y'all can't get all the paperwork in the time, I put your application in the back because I had other applications. Sweetie, you ain't got no applications. You just told us you didn't have any.
In fact, I walked in here and you sitting there with your thumbs on there twiddling, so you must be ain't got nothing to do. Apparently, if you must be caught up, right? Like you can tell just people body language alone. It's a mess. in terms of how people, again, at this juncture in the game have witnessed what we have gone through over the past 2 years, and they're still, I mean, it's like they still hold out hope. Is that like they still aren't convinced enough that these people are not going above and beyond to meet them where they are, right? And they put all this faith and trust. Again, that word faith is to be. I think they need to change that word faith. I think we need to do a whole new different.
And believe.
We need to reroute that word out of here and change that, because a lot of people are caught up into that perspective of hurrying up just to wait, right? This whole thing in the military, right? This whole idea of hurry up to wait. Where are we going? We're going to just hurry up, get ready, wait. For what? I've already paid, to move to the front of the line by way of my taxes, by way of me voting for people who are supposed to be competent to help me get, beeline me to the resources. And that's just not the case, right? And so it's important. So again, like people like yourself and many others, Sister Angela, over Chris, anybody who comes on within this eco here who have something to offer that may be an extra benefit or a boost to person's, again, their financial economic prowess, it's like not even up for debate why you should be submitting your time to these kind of portals, right? And if it's not this one, somebody else that that's doing the work. It could be another channel. We don't care, because information is power if it's properly presented and it's primary and it's right and exact. We're just trying to funnel people to that, because you will have, again, a scenario where a lot of people would not have to, go through this hurry up and wait, posturing, if they just knew how to resource better. If they knew how to, get outside the lanes that they just kind of been stuck in, hoping it'll get better one day. Again, that whole faith mentality. I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait. Okay. You can't wait and complain. You can't have it both ways, right? Can't have it both ways. Either you're going to have to change that scenario, right? Throw a tantrum, go in there, put, foot to behind at your local, whomever, and force these people to do their job, or you're going to have to, do something else to replace them, right? Or go elsewhere, because again, we're realizing that now, how they're really making this whole ideal of, one side or the other side is becoming very endemic in America, where there's no value of just, bipartisanship. Like that's like they need to even excommunicate that word bipartisan. There's no longer no value of bipartisan. There's always going to be gridlock going forward from here on out. Why? Because they figured out now that gang membership, requires unflinching fealty and loyalty at this day and age, right? Because they're putting all the power in being able to scrape benefits off the top away from the people. And they need you to be on board and on code in order to be a part of the organization. So that means you're going to have to bend to all that, the crooked stuff, the shady stuff, the Fugazi stuff. It's that bad now. Like nobody wants to do their mandated job. They don't want to do that. Right? They want to keep you in this whole ideal of thinking as this, as that, or it's not as bad as you seem, but yet still, again, everybody's out there suffering. So again, the extent of being able to source information comes from you knowing where to go and who you probably should be kind of following, right? Because again, if you're struggling to get layman term answers, chances are if they complicate it, they're lying. Chances are if they complicate it, it's a lie, or it's a scenario where they're trying to benefit more off having the information as leveraging you, so it makes them feel powerful while you're feeling powerless in that moment. So that in itself is a problem. Why? Because that's a big issue in America too. So a whole lot of people who front. There's a whole lot of people who are, perpetrating, the aspect of having something that they really don't control, but they know that you don't know, and they'll just play the, string you along and hold you up. As they say, a dime holding up a dollar, right? Right? And our greatest mathematical equation ever is what? Time over money. Don't mess with my time, don't mess with my money, right? So it's important that, again, you have these conversations to help people, be able to make that kind of, decisive decision. Like if you're going to get serious about really figuring out what you need to do to get from A to B, then chances are you need to get people that's going to give it to you straight and narrow, right? Direct, right? Because you've been lied to enough. If you ain't been lied to enough at this point, I don't know what else to say, right? You sat through the pandemic. You saw how they play with your life and your health when it came to the pandemic. If you still want to accept their garbage at this day and time, right? Your babies ain't even got baby formula. It's women out there, man, they had all kind of stuff out there. People doing all kinds of things to try to feed their babies. Babies ain't, look, I'm just saying, I got a side hustle, right? I got me a new side job, right? Y'all come see me. All right, 1st and 15th. I'm gonna be behind, the Quick Trip on Old National Road, right? And I'll be up, right? I got 1 for 15, 2 for 25. Similac, you want what? No sugar or added sugar? I got you. Whatever you need, I got you. It's that bad, right? And if it ain't that, it's the what? It's the gas. If it ain't the gas, people hustling gas. I see that. If it ain't gas, it's what? It's the food. Right? A bucket of KFC chicken costs you about $30 right now to feed a family of 4. It used to be like what? Back in the day, it used to be like what, 16, 18 bucks, 20 bucks, and now it's up to like $30, $40 to feed a family of 4 for a bucket of what? 12 pieces, not even probably 16, 12 pieces. The biscuit, you finna pay about $40.
Eggs and rice it is.
Like, somebody make this make sense, and they're still trying to figure out in their mind, like, what is inflation? I've been hearing about this inflation stuff. I'm sorry to say, we passed inflation. We running the curve and going towards stagflation, right? We ain't been running that curve of inflation. Inflation was going like last year. Literally, it was like so last year, right? We're experiencing stagflation now. It's becoming endemic. The same way they tell you that the COVID scenario has become endemic now, stagflation is becoming endemic until they really get serious about fixing it. The fact that they won't fix it right away is more the reason why they're trying to protect somebody or a certain class over the others. Because the interest rates being at 0 benefits people who can borrow against it at higher levels. Not somebody that's going to get a little, $5,000 credit card. They're talking about getting millions and millions from the government through corporate credit at dang near 0 interest rates, which benefits Apples and the Googles and the Microsoft and this, that, and the third. And yet that money is supposed to be used to go out there, innovate, engineer, to have a better, product or mousetrap that you can now provide back to the general public as a way of having a better, qualitative value of life, use case, easement, so you can, do other stuff more productive, right? But the carrying cost itself is like through the roof. These people still, again, that's another conversation for another day, but they still out there overcharging people, gouging people, even before this got to this situation. Because again, it's a gluttonous society, right? It's those who have and those who have not. And the government will continuously allow this to happen until the people get fed up and do something about it. So the onus is still going to be on the individual. That's the part where this conversation has become very, direct toward a lot of people, especially our people, right? Because they're not going to go out their way to fix the system to run smoothly to help your situation. They get, I hate to say it that way, but they get their rocks off by knowing that if you don't access it, if they put it out there in a certain period of time, it's going to get absorbed back into the system. And then they're going to repurpose that money for something else, mainly for something that they want, right? Mainly for some agenda that they have in play, right? This has always been the game. This has always been the hustle that they provide, right? So knowing how the system works, again, is just going to be incumbent for people to start realizing that you need to start getting you a serious circle. Get you a team. We might not be in the teens anymore, but look, you need to start hanging out with Plenty in 2020 or something. You need to come up with we need to get a new slogan, right? We need to get a new slogan. And so you start hanging out with Plenty in 2020 and get out these little, dead circles that you thinking that's, that ain't really producing, right? Because it matters now that you need good quality information. Information is literally like a drug in itself, right? It is literally a drug in itself. And so this whole idea of dealing with, them kind of then, again, doing a hurry up and wait scenario, even in the stock market right now, is also the same reality, right? This idea of kicking the can down the road. We've been here before. We've had this conversation. Why they won't do the right thing to fix the scenario? It's because they're not really serious about fixing it. Again, you got 8.9% plus inflation, and you got a 0.75% interest rates raise. How you fighting that fire? Somebody please tell me how you got a squirt gun at a forest fire in California. You got a squirt gun. I'm finna put this fire out. Knock yourself out, Fire Marshal Bill. Go right at it. Have at it, right? You know that's a losing battle before you even get started. But again, that's the extent of what people are sitting around thinking that these people are actually going to fix this here, right? And our purchasing power is becoming literally worthless. It's becoming worthless. And so again, average people who are still trying to get on their feet post-pandemic, they come right into a system that's already is stacked against them. They can't win for losing. Like, bro, y'all had all that time to fix this stuff, and as soon as I go into the job market, I got to deal with record inflation. Bro, you talking about paying me $10 an hour, and even that $15 that we were lobbying for during the pandemic, it ain't even worth it now. Like, you gonna have to put another 5 on top of that now. Cause I can't even do that dang on what that little basic, 15% now. Cost of living up, cost of these goods and services up, inflation well over 10%. Y'all saying it ain't, but we know it is. So that's already a 10% decrease in my little $15. So you already took $1.50 out the top of that 15. So look.
When my friend's son went to ask another friend for a job at Blue Cross Blue Shield, and they was like, yeah, they offered him the job at $9. So he told him, he was like, ma'am, I'm sorry, I can't take that job. They can't even pay my rent. They got offended. He was like, I don't understand what you mean. He did the math. He said, my rent is more than my monthly paycheck. Is you crazy? And it ain't his fault because rent is gonna go up regardless if you pay it or not.
And it's funny too, because these corporations are sitting there knowing people have these problems and act as if because these people are trying to actually use something that they already had power for anyway in the past anyway, but never really used it. It's what their ability to negotiate. It's like your ability to negotiate now. Like they like, how dare you come in here and negotiate with us? Like, are you kidding me?
Yes.
But I'm already in the hole because I had to pay for gas to even come to the little dusty little interview. Are you going to give me a gas voucher for this interview today?
Yeah, I don't know who they be dealing with.
The account manager. Say what over, Chris.
They definitely don't know who they be dealing with.
Right, like.
I don't know about you guys, and you guys probably can speak to this, but I know a lot of companies here are hiring because ain't nobody going to work. They're like, man, we ain't working for that. We have a lot of people.
This is the problem as well, because the feds came out and literally told everybody a part of their so-called 3-tier initiative to fight inflation is, number one, they got to kill demand. That's the first part. But within that demand structure is what? They got to kill the labor market. They got to kill demand on price of goods and services that people want to go out and buy. And they got to kill the credit market. Everything that's antithetical to their mandate as being Federal Reserve, that they want to have maximum employment, better equality value in terms of pay equation up and down the ladder scheme, the ability to make goods and services move fluidity throughout the nation by lobbying good money with other like someone make sense. Like, this is backward hustle at the highest level, and they know average people just sleep at the wheel.
Yep, I had to tell my I met up with a couple of my friends the other day, and I told them, listen, bro, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Your job's probably gonna lay you off within the next 6 months, for sure. So whatever little money you got,
not in the next 3. In some cases, some of these junkers, that domino effect starting to happen.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I know at Lowe's, they trying to push credit cards on people now because they know people ain't coming in to spend. Sales is down, revenue is down. So I'm telling them, listen, save your money, because build your emergency fund, listen to the information I send you, read it, and try to get better at it, because this job market is finna go down. So
all that boasting and bragging about Joe Biden. Oh, we got the biggest job creation ever. And it's like, boy, if you don't shut up lying to people, if there are people that dumb, they think y'all that dumb. Like, dude, we know we working from the base effect. Everything look bigger from the ground up. And these people ain't new jobs being created. These are jobs people going back to. Stop lying with this job creation. They think people that ignorant.
That's what made me mad about Kevin O'Leary saying that crazy stuff. I'm like, bro, you struggling to hire a damn waiter for $15 an hour because you got to pay $25. You trying to shortchange. You getting hit by the labor market too. So, don't let these people fool y'all, man. That's all I'm gonna tell you.
You know me, I'm like Yeezy right now. I'll sway.
Overpriced.
You remember that? Oh, still with that. Y'all remember this?
Yeah,
He's
that was
like,
a
Over
I
Chris,
run
I
a
classic.
got a
business. I'm trying to
question
run a
for
business.
you.
These people trying to cut me out of business, and you start a little T-shirt, come and swear I'm trying to run a billion. Y'all remember this interview? This interview with everything, but this
Yeah,
man
I
was
got
that was a
legendary.
classic.
I got a
That was
question
a
for
classic.
Over Chris. The ground floor app and the real estate apps that where you could invest in the properties and invest in the loans and all of that.
Hmm.
Do they offer the opportunity like if you're with the tax yield where if they default you can probably take the house or buy the house or I mean I know that the chances are very low but I'm saying do any of those apps does ground floor are they building towards that?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Not that I know of. They actually trying to go public, so I think that's where they putting all their money at right now. Is trying to go public. So I'll find out for you though. That's a good question. I'll find out for you.
Thanks.
Uh, no
I
problem.
think one real estate person was telling me about you can go to auctions and do that's where you'll get the yields and things like that. But I was wondering if the apps are doing that too.
Yeah, nah, not that I know of, but I definitely would check in on that. And even on the real estate tip, man, I was, you know, brother Dinah Samir, right? I know over African Emporium, know him.
Mm-hmm.
So he had made a post about, some townhomes costing $1 million, somewhere in Atlanta. And I was telling him, I was like, yeah. I mean, prices is going up, but y'all got to look at lumber. Lumber prices crashing right now. Mortgage rate prices on the 30, 5%. Inflation. So pending home sales is down. So I wouldn't be trying to buy a house right now.
Buy
If you ain't,
storage things. Buy
Unless you
storage
got it,
things.
got it.
unless you got the money. If
Buy
you ain't got
storage
the money,
things.
I wouldn't be trying to.
Yeah.
The average
That
person cannot buy
that
a house
ship
right
been sailed already. And
now.
we
The
spoke
storage bin.
emphatically about it when it was time to do it because it was a perfect storm, right? We had interest rates basically at record lows that we hadn't had in a while, and the bank value of being able to send out the loans was that much more easier to get those loans, those loans basically because there was a mandate by the government that was really pushing to help people, leverage that. That's why people started doing a lot of refi because we refied all our property with the instance,
Right.
right? We got
Mm-hmm.
it's a time to buy. As it says, you have to be understanding how the system works in a cyclical nature. We talk about cyclical nature of markets all the time, right? Well, the market has a
Mm-hmm.
cyclical nature too. It ain't buy every day out of the week. The same way you don't go to a
Facts.
car dealership and try to buy doing what? You know, so-called peak season value when they know they chart guide the people for what? Or dry seasons, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Peak season, I should say it that way. And they charge people more for these vehicles than the average, right? Negotiating value is like don't even waste time. They finna get you. Right.
Yeah.
So
Buy
we
the
know
storage bins. Buy the building materials and hold. And that's what you do.
I'm like, bro, lumber is down over $600, like double in the last 6 months. So I'm like, no, y'all not reading the data right, bro. Like, it's not a time to really be buying no house unless you got the money. But the average buyer, I know y'all ain't got no money like that. Stop playing. You got to pay rent, food, and gas.
Hey, listen, stay home.
base necessities. Those are base case necessities.
Base
And
necessities. You in trouble. You might as well stop moving together. Find your roommate. Find a family friend or
look, they
somebody.
used to talk trash about these Mexicans, and you see why they used to be like 16 deep in the house. Boy, they winning right now on leverage. They
Back,
winning on leverage right now. Boy, you talking about
back.
goodness. So again, that deal even you got sending kids that want to go to university and they want to stay, off campus. They want to pay for, that room. Boy, look.
Not in just somebody else.
Different choices now. You better go to college up the street. You live in the house. Repurpose your room.
Hey, you better go online.
You got to adapt. Think about it seriously. It's a time now where people have to really start adapting and realizing the importance of being able to be flexible like that, right? Because these the change of how things have happened, post COVID, you know, it's going to require that level of sacrifice. It ain't even the fact that you got to feel sorry about it. You just got to be like, look, we're not even play that game. We're gonna make it easy for everybody, right? As the saying goes, why work twice as hard to receive twice as less when you need to be working twice as smart to receive twice as much, right? Why
Right.
prove yourself going into debt is admirable or something to be kind of proud about because you want to prove that you're self-sufficient. That makes no sense. That is idiotic, actually, even at this point in the game.
That's why I say they got a bad sense of timing and no strategy. The
None.
time you should have been buying is long past. You should have been buying a long while them interest rates was low. But now you wait till hell and hot water come through and trying to buy a house now. Makes no sense at
And
all.
again, the hustle that they're doing now is that again, you have VCs, these institutions, these arms of the investment side of the world now starting to dip their toes into the housing market from what that of average mom and pops now, which is to me is almost beyond, it's beyond insidious for them to do such a thing like that because that area has always been off limits to those kind of corporations, right? You got the business side of things. Why snatch up property from those people? And basically, they're just going to drive up the property value because, again, they're going to come in and redevelop a lot of that place because they got the money to do it. It's going to drive up the property tax in those regions. And it's going to price everybody out.
Listen,
Another form of gentrification.
They prowling deep in the Lower Richland area.
I can imagine.
Oh man, we have every community event you have to tell them, do not sell your property. Do not sell your property because they, oh my God, either they buying up what they were aired and redeveloping, putting up those houses and stuff. I mean, it's crazy, man. I said, whoa, I didn't know community work was this hard.
Right.
And I just found this out too. The whole buy now pay later scheme, man, that been around since the 1920s. That's one reason why the 1929 market crash happened because of buy now pay later. And now they got all of these buy down pay laters coming out right now. Apple is now trying to do it too. So people gonna be getting caught up in a bunch of credit and debt, man.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yeah.
What just happened with a firm? Y'all saw what happened. They just got Ether, right?
Yep.
And then see, Apple ain't nothing but a parasitic, organization at this point. Well, like I say, what they call Apple iMall. That's basically what their new nickname is, the Apple iMall. They've already shook down Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, shook them down for ad revenue, right? More than what's necessary. And that's just some of the name brand ones. That's not even dealing with the other guys, right? Now they in this whole space where they're just kind of the fact that they know that, they can't go out there and just buy these other, scenarios outright because the monopoly issue that they're dealing with by being too big. So they just find other ways to kind of offer all shoot, right? All shoot to compete with them, which obviously kills a lot of other smaller ones and take them off. But again, it shows that they have too much time in their hand when they need to be engineering and innovating as the world leaders they're supposed to be, and not trying to just go out there and copy small mom and pop type business because they have no original ideas left. Their greatest engineers, idealists are long gone from now. And they are a victim of their own success because they didn't take the time to cultivate those engineers. Again, that guy that left in I think it was 2018, 2019. Y'all know I'm talking about the last Apple iPhone engineer. When that guy left Apple, it was really lights out. Right? This just happened recently, right? They were doing everything to keep that guy. He's like, I'm out of here. Because he saw the route the Tim Cook was going. He was not following the mandate of what, Steve, Jobs had in mind. Like, it's clearly at this point, you're just trying to be a good manager, right? At this point, you're not being innovative what Apple's supposed to be, right? And then we talked about that earlier too, about how do I deal with these other, companies within that space of eco, like a Samsung or whatever. Even China, right? We can't buy like a Huawei phone, right? Because they got this whole, issue with security issues, right? They won't let us buy it. But some of those China phones, they got those, Huawei and what they call Z, is something start with a Z. Man, them cell phones they got, man, kicking butt and taking name. All they did was reverse engineer Apple because the factory that makes Apple phone is right there in Foxconn in Asia. As Asians always do, they see your stuff, they reverse engineer it, and then they make some equal to or better, and then sell it to their people.
Facts.
That's why I say I'll be laughing because I've been writing about that recently, like how America got the gall to try to talk trash and poke fun at China and everything that they get coming from China. And if China shut down, America up the creek without a paddle. And it's so bad that we don't even manufacture, we can't even build a paddle to get from up the creek. We didn't outsource all that technology. It's that bad. Like these people are some ultra hypocrites. And it's sad because, again, no one wants to call them out on it, because if you call them out on it, you're being either unpatriotic or you're not a team player. This is how they're trying to browbeat people into accepting their will, the will of this idiotic, system now. It's that bad. Like I say, it's one side or the other. You got one buzzer in the middle, you got a right wing and you got a left wing, right? Either way, you're going to have to accept the buzzer. I don't even want the buzzer. Y'all keep the buzzer. I'm straight, right? I'm straight, right? They're really trying to force people to accept that. Right. So again, I just couldn't. It's funny when you watch this stuff. But Apple into this hole right here, they might have let that stuff let it go, because interest rate from the ether that anyway. The interest rate going up from the ether this anyway. And this is like the fact that they're even trying to do this like right now, even with Apple, shows you how desperate they are, how sleazy they are. Right? They're just trying to keep people excited about being inside the Apple ecosystem in a way to help them still afford this overpriced junk gadget that they're putting out in the Apple iPhone and the watch. We can have you on a buy now pay later plan just to keep you in house, so you don't have to go outside the house. They're sleazy because they know people ain't buying that stuff at record number. And the fact that factory been shut down and Foxconn, both of them, right? And that has hurt their production even more. They're trying to come out with anything they can to keep their names inside the algo's mouths right now, to keep people buying the shares of the stock, because that's the only way they're going to really benefit at this point. It's crazy, but y'all get it, right? That's why we had this conversation on the investment side of things, and we're looking at the market now and saying, okay, well, where are we in the grand scheme of things? We're literally in purgatory right now. In essence, where the market should be down substantially to kind of provide the great reset, they refuse to accept that, because again, they want to have their cake and eat it too, and they cannot. So it's going to drag the average everyday citizen, the mom and pop, the Main Street person, even that much more, because greedy corporations don't know how to take an L respectively, and they ain't even really taking an L. Think about the amount of money they made from the beginning of 2020, or in this case, let's say the beginning, because the pandemic happened early in February, up until at least Q2 of 2021. Y'all saw the stats. We used to pump them stats all the time. CEOs pocketed well over $1 trillion+. And they still didn't pay their fair share of taxes. Jeff Bezos skipped on a $20 billion tax bill in 2020. I remember this like bro, how you skip on a $20 billion tax bill?
Because all his places is in the poverty-stricken area. They get the tax cuts, $1,000 per employee.
And they got the nerdy complaining because dude took them to what? The trial literally and get our union in New York. They say, no, you got to pay us our fair share.
Smart.
Took them jokers to trial.
Hey, when Lindsey Graham tried to make it look like Amazon.
Ate Lindsey Graham up and down the floor. Like, if you don't get out of here, they expect us to.
He said, you better remember the worker. Without the workers, there is no company.
There is no Amazon. Matter of fact, you ain't even got a job without the citizen. And that's why I said earlier, when I was kind of giving a commentary earlier, how these people have now turned into pseudo, celebrities. Yeah. Politicians have become pseudo celebrities.
Yep.
And they drunk on power because they get to leverage that, because they know you're needing of them to, again, manage the affairs that you are trusting them with, and they're not doing it. So the value that you have to wait on them to get serious about managing, that just buys them more time to mismanage it even more. And they kick the can down the road long enough right into a primary election cycle or something. And now you still be stuck because you're like, well, they said it's going to fix it. I guess I got to vote for them again and hope they're going to get it done on maybe on this back end of the, it's that kind of ignorance at this point. It's like, are y'all kidding me? So they got the Fed already and made everybody's situation bad. And you still got politicians sitting there cheerleading this foolishness. And they trying to, I mean, again, it's not going to become any more lucid at this point than what it already is. They're literally telling you and showing you who they are. And people are still comfortable in saying, well, no, let's give them a chance. Like, I don't get it, right? I just don't get it, but I get it, but I just don't get it at this point. Because again, if they showed you enough so much and how they don't care about you from a health perspective, how in the world you feel like they're going to take care of you on the business side? Because now they're kicking you in the teeth on the business side of things, the gas pumps, the grocery stores, the price of lumber, goods, and services. Oh, I mean, all this stuff is just through the roof. And they still acting like they can't do nothing to really fix it. Everything they're doing to fix it is so much, it's so laughable that it's not even funny. The fact that they even go on those routes, and then they look at you straight in the face and say, well, this is why we gotta, set aside $40 billion more to send it to Ukraine, because we got to make sure that they protect the two, because we could do both, right? We can bear our crosses here in America and pay higher gas prices and food prices and have food shortages and not feed our babies, but we can also take care of Ukraine. See how that works, guys? Get excited. And they wonder why, they got to travel with extra security, right? And they got to, the whole issue, even with Jimbo Jenga Clyburn, right? I'm sure you saw that whole thing that, when Jason Black ran up on them, right? They ran up on that fish fry and they exposed his mullet mouth looking self. Marcel was there. Jason, a lot of other people were there, and they exposed him for the shiesty treating this Negro he is. And I got to say it that way because, again, this is someone that been sitting in that position for so long, and that district has gone from just into rubble, right? They say the district that's underneath him is literally gone into rubble. And yet these same faith-bearing people are sitting there putting that same shiesty treason slick back right back in there. And so, again, there's a disease where some people just have to go through being purged. They got to go through being purged. You got to purge these people out because reasoning with them is no longer a viable option. You can't reason people with logic and primary sources. Come through, Uncle Kent. I see you coming through the airways right now. A well-organized lie defeats a disorganized truth every time.
Ooh. Ooh.
If that ain't the extent of the most people in this nation at this point, I don't know what is, because people just love it. They're inebriated with it. And I'm like, how? How, Sway? How, Sway?
Look at face.
How, Sway? I mean, he just flipped like Mr. Jekyll. He was sitting there, how smiling, and just, how, Sway? Right? Oh, how you fixing gas prices, Joe Biden? How? Right? How you fixing inflation, Jerome Powell? How?
They riding the train. They don't know.
Right? How you helping South Carolina district right now, Jimbo Jenkins Clyburn? How? Nancy, how you fixing California and you still putting all your time and trying to invest and bet on the stock market? You buy options exposed to stock. You opt right inside the trade. How you fixing California right now? How, Nancy? Right? I'm serious. We can go down the board. Y'all be here for days. Anybody in your specific district scenario? How? Al Sharp, you get up here cheerleading for everybody except the people that you've been made your living off of, and now you sit up there with your anemic looking self with this big old head and little body, sitting there lying to people, sitting in front of people on these church pews, sitting there knowing you sitting there coming in there with an agenda to swing at these people and make them sit down and accept that what the government giving them, and can walk out there with a straight face and act like you doing some, morally, how, Al? How? I couldn't make this. Look, it's so good, guys. Y'all know me. Every now and then I get a chance to go on my trip back. I even put on a special concert for y'all today. It's been a minute since I've been on live like this, but I got a nice new one for y'all today, right? Again, the title of this one here is June Swoon, right? Well, y'all know the definition of swoon is, right? Kind of, the idea of fainting and just kind of being taken back by. So we are in the June swoon moment now, because right now the government can't afford to faint on the job right now, right? They're under the microscope right now. We're gonna hold their feet to the fire, right? If not by the value of them doing what they need to do what they've been positioned and propositioned to do when they got voted in the office or selected. We're going to do our part to empower our own people by giving them layman terms, primary sources of where to go, how to eat, whatever. That's our job. That's why these kind of shows are important. So let's go. Let's run it.
If I'm being honest, loving you the hardest thing to do, so I keep to myself. I feel like I'm falling in and out of consciousness, yeah. Now we starting to talk, let's killing all the progress. Really hard to process, you treat me like an object. Baby, we toxic. Can we stay on topic? I feel like we lost it. Feel like we lost it. Take my love, don't waste it. Even though I don't mind waiting. Latest, my mind racing. What else I have to do, girl, to praise me? You. I only want you, yeah. I only want you. I only want you. Pull me closer. I can't stop bleeding. If you gon' lead, then gon' lead just like everybody else. If you don't like my company, then I'll do life by myself. Girl, your love like a drug, it ain't good for my health. Even though it's killing me, girl, I love you to death. Take my love, don't waste it. Even though I don't mind waiting. Latest, my mind racing. What else I have to do, girl, to praise me? You. I only want you, yeah. I only want you. I only want you. Pull me closer. Closer to you, pull me closer. Closer to you, pull me closer. Closer to you, pull me closer. Don't push me away.
I hit you a little bit of that new, right? That new, right? That June swoon is what we finna deal with all summer long, right? And it's our goal to put what these politicians, these charlatans on the summer jam screen. That June swoon is what we finna deal with all summer long. Somebody got some feedback. That's Sister Mo might be listening. Yeah. So again, the importance, guys, the importance of understanding how this situation is set up, right? We gotta find a way to fix Sister Monica there. Right? We gotta figure out how to get from underneath all this foolishness, right? Because we know, again, given the situation now, it's just that bad, right? It's that bad, right? And they ain't really trying to fix this, right? Because if they were serious about fixing it, they would already really gave you a very direct signal that they are serious about it. And they know for the most part that again, the average person is too busy trying to feed themselves, clothe themselves, take care of base case things that they feel like, well, if they're doing their part, they just waiting on the government to do theirs, right? And that's just not going to happen because, again, they're always going to put asset owners over, their needs over what everybody else, right? Again, just the market alone here is again an extension of how Wall Street have yet to kind of accept the fact that the Fed is supposedly supposed to be trying to fix inflation, right? Yeah, we may be down from 480. We may have went down to touch 380. But yet and still, no one wants to kill the demand to fight inflation. And that also comes along with the equity assets as well. The fact that Wall Street wants to buy every aspect of the Fed's telling them not to buy, and the Feds are not being completely serious in showing and telling Wall Street that this is not the mode to fight the Feds, and they still kind of soft shoeing conversations or answers or talking points around the algos to make the algos feel comfortable and still trying to buy this market, is an extension of why they're going to always put those who own assets at the front of the line as opposed to those who suffer the most, which is Main Street. Again, family, everything said a dozen of eggs was sitting at $12.97 at some store he was at. Let somebody make that make sense, right? $12.97. And these people, again, the Tim Cooks, who was constantly out there trying to put out a press release almost every other day to keep Apple stock pumped up, after he then benefited from, cheap money well over 2-3 years, longer than that, obviously, longer on the bigger perspective. But since the Fed started this extra, Operation Twist perspective of quantitative easing, reverse repo operations, all that of the quantitative easing that came on, extension of that came off the back of the mortgage-backed securities and T-bill expansion of $120 billion a month, in the year 2020 that just literally ended, 2 months ago? Like just constantly pumping all that money out there, keeping interest rates basically at zero interest rates, right at a quarter basis point. This is the extension of, again, they're always going to play dumb long as they can, at any kind of way that they can, because they know the majority of people who are dependent upon the government doing the right part are not also, gainfully invested in the markets as well. So greedy people only know one way. It's what? More greed. Greed begets greed. So much so that people even lost the consciousness in the aspect of using, the market in a way to somewhat leg up their life. But if they say, well, hey, we need everybody to realize that the market's going to take a big, major haircut. They came out squared with the American people, say, our stock market going to take a massive haircut, but it's going to benefit, Main Street more than you guys can imagine. And people say, okay, well, man, that's going to suck. But guess what? You can't have it both ways. You can't have a skyrocketing stock market and a fight on inflation, because the asset ownership also breeds into the value of high inflation is high as well, by the value of these commodity prices that are also keeping things from coming down, properly. So this idea of a soft landing that you keep hearing from the Feds is non-existent. It's a fairy tale, right? It's a fairy tale at best, right? There's no way you can engineer a soft landing with the rate of policy and the rate of liquidity they've already again, pump markets with at this point. 8.9 trillion. And you're talking about alleviating, I guess, minimum 3 trillion by 2020, they think they said 2023 or 2024, kicking the can down the road. Because they know if they string it out that long, they know at some point they're going to be forced to reverse it. Because as soon as we go into what they consider to be a technical recession, even though we're in one now, when they actually say it, right? Let me invoke the words of Cardi B, right? All right. Let me invoke the words of Cardi B. When y'all think they're going to announce that we're going into a recession? Well, they're going to go down like the same way they did with the inflationary truth, right? It took them almost a whole year and 2 months to admit that inflation was not transitory, or that we was even dealing with inflation to that level. Janet Yellen literally just came out almost a week ago and admitted that she got inflation wrong. This woman's supposed to be a scholar, a griot in this field of study, was hired to perform one job. You had one job, Janet, and she's
a former federal chair too.
Exactly, and she used to be a Federal Reserve chair. She knows both sides of that spectrum. Secretary of Treasury now and coming from a Federal Reserve chair, and she went out there and still dropped the ball purposely. Purposely. If a rapper got a whole government feet to the fire because they got a following, then I think every other one out there need to follow suit. Now, she may not understand the true extent of all of it, but nonetheless, she got a following, right? They can leverage her, meaning, if they knew how to really, get behind these little celebrities out there and rapping, like, look, all y'all need to be beating that same drum. The same way the government used TikTok content creators to push information about the COVID vaccine. Ain't that something? but they dare use these celebrities to speak about the value of how they're not doing their job as politicians to fight inflation. See how that works? If you got people at the gentleman club coming out and telling you that times are rough, who you gonna believe? Nancy Pelosi, Jimbo Jengles, Clyburn, right? You gonna believe those people, or you gonna believe this lady right here? I'm just asking for a friend. If I had to choose, I would go with Reverse Cowgirl 69 because she is a true, right? She's a true gig economy employee / contractor. If she know there's softness in business right now, who y'all gonna believe? I'm just saying, I'm going with Reverse Cowgirl 69 on this one.
Yeah, she got it.
Right? It ain't even up for debate that she know exactly what she's talking about too. Why? Because it ain't hard to see who coming through that door and who not.
It ain't hard, honey.
Ain't hard. Very direct, read on what that looks like. So you got the rappers, entertainers, and you got, the gentleman club ladies. They signaling that they know it because look, I'm just saying. Right? I'm just asking for a friend. Like who y'all gonna roll with? Right? Who y'all rolling with? Right? I'm rolling with her. Right? I'm rolling with Sister Monica, over Chris, Sister Angie, everybody, over Rich that was in here, over September that was in here. Everybody that's come, everybody in the back. I'm rolling with y'all. Why? Because I know without shadow of a doubt, you guys are better read on this stuff than a lot of other people. And it's hard trying to get people to even to listen sometimes to what you guys probably even have to say because they're so inebriated, so drunk, so caught up in the ideal of thinking that, again, my politician, my senator will never sit there and tell me something that ain't true. Them type. No matter how much you say, look, it ain't that kind of party. This is what you need to do. This is how you need to kind of even start looking at your finances now, right? You finna go through a drought period. It's better to plan now than to suffer later. And they're like, no, I'm finna go, I'm just, no, I think we straight because of this, that. I'm whoa. And the same way that we look at the market and we say, okay, well, given the situation of the marketplace right now, this is why we stuck in this we stuck in this purgatory, so to speak. And it's going to be this way until something gives. And they're trying to just wait it out. And they actually making it worse because they're keeping oil prices up. They're keeping other commodities up. They're making wheat, the fact that the war in Ukraine in itself and Russia is telling you so many ways that, that there's not going to be no easement of that scenario no time soon. Again, we're talking about food, wheat, bread, pasta. That's the ubiquitous food item for most people. If nothing else, bread in itself or wheat. And that's haywire right now. They can't even find another nation that can produce it, scale it enough fast enough to grow it faster because you still got Mother Nature you got to wait for anyway else. Anytime. Because if somebody already got stuff planted, they got to wait for that whole harvest to grow then before they start so it's going to be a lagging indicator. There's no way they can fix food problems overnight. You can't facsimile food. I'm sorry. Feds can print fiat currency, but they sure can't print a wheat seed in the ground and turn it into a whole stalk the next day. They cannot. They're a victim of their own criminality because they overshot their goals and their mandates purposely because it benefits who? Those who are sitting at the top. Right? And that's the hustle that we all got to contend with and realize that there's no getting around that, guys. You guys got to know how to play ball better. Ain't no other way around this here, guys. Ain't no other way around this here. No other way. No other way. Right? Again, Nancy Pelosi. Right? We'll get to her in a second. But again, it ain't, it's not going to get any kind of, again, you're not going to wake up magically and things just going to be back to normal. As they say, when the genie is out the bottle, it's out the bottle. These companies are making all this money because they got pricing power. They're not going to relinquish that if they can have less production just to make, everybody's life a little bit more better. These people are greedy. They're greedy. Now it's funny too, because when we went through that deal of dealing with the pandemic in full swing, and they used the Defensive Act to commandeer people businesses for them to forcibly make what hand sanitizers and all these kind of wet naps and stuff like that, right? It ain't that same call to arm to kind of force corporations through the Defensive Act to what? Produce a lot of things that they can fast as they can to help what? The American people deal with inflation. Ain't that something? Where's the Defensive Act right now for that? Where's the FEMA value for that? Where's, Homeland Security, any of that stuff like that to help, detail those kind of things to help the situation with fighting inflation? It's just as much of a national emergency as it is in dealing with COVID. I happen to think so. I happen to know so in a lot of ways. Why? Because again, if you understand historical value, how inflation works, right? Pulling from the great Milton Friedman, right? We understand that inflation has always been a what? Monetary phenomenon. It's nothing else. It's always been what? Through a Keynesian marketplace where inflation what? Reared itself. When the government overreached themselves by way of the Federal Reserve arm, this private organization or the Treasury, and printed too much money than that of the what? The actual value of what? Production that's out there to balance that out in terms of what Sister Monica was speaking earlier about debt to equity ratio. Not even happening in America right now. Right? This is the criminality of the system that knows is doing this purposely and really isn't doing anything to fix it. They come up with every excuse in the book on why they are not going to fix it, because it benefits majority of them, because a lot of those people got what? Stock options in the market. Right? Again, all that wealth that was created during the pandemic that went to that top 1%, you think the people are just going to relinquish that just for, to help person out at the gas station? Again, they're not pulling up at the gas station in a Bugatti or a McLaren, right? Or any of those, right? A Phantom, right? They're not pulling up at the gas station in one of those complaining about the gas prices. I'm almost certain. Right? One of the richest areas in California, Newport Beach region over there, right? One of my old CEOs, he had a beach house out there. That man used to be old Nicolas Cage house, matter of fact, right? And he got one in is it called Pelican? Is it Pelican Brief, something like that? Basically, it was like what, 4 houses down from where Kobe stayed, right? Rest in peace of Kobe. But his house was like four houses up from that. Matter of fact, LeBron ended up buying a house out there. I went to this man's house on a business retreat, and this extent when you sit around the people, and this guy was a billionaire now, mind you. And David, matter of fact, my sister Monica, you asked David about that comment. He definitely know about it. It's weird.
He told me about it.
But I'm sitting there like, okay, you come to this meeting to pick these people's brain, right? These people who 100 millionaires, again, 10 millionaire and the billionaire himself. And they take you to their little swanky house. We went to 2 of his little properties in this old rich district. Again, the cheapest dealership in that area was like a BMW dealership. That was the cheapest car dealership in that area. Like it wasn't no other, there wasn't no Fords in there, there wasn't no GMs in this area. And you say this, first thing I say to myself, I had a psychoanalysis moment. I said, you know what? Again, of course, for me to achieve what these people got, it will come with unsurmountable value, being able to leverage a whole lot of what, people and resources to get there, right? It's not going to happen overnight, of course, like anything. And in the same breath, these people have more than what they obviously need, but that ain't for me to pocket watch, but it's for me to also assess the value of how the system is set up now to really reward those who figure out a niche to get into that kind of echelon of what wealth value. But truly, there's no economic movement to build up but the base of everybody in America through good economic education to put them in a position where they have at least a chance to shoot for that. It shouldn't be a one-off event. It should not be you got lucky. It shouldn't be you got born into wealth through value of an airship, right? Family member who had money, right? A chateau, whatever. The fact that they don't put finance education as a criteria in America, and it's an elective, shows the extent of why they're not serious about what educating people on these very said topics. Because they need people to show up at the polls who are what? Sleep at the wheel. Who are still, dabbing in what? Infinitesimal what? Trivial things. Personality worship. Congeniality contest kind of reality. That's basically what these politicians are. They suit up just go play the role of a congeniality contestant. They have no source value outside of just, tricking people to kind of what fall for their foolery. Or I'm not going to be like every other politician that that you probably dealt with thus far. As soon as you get in the office, that goes right out the window. Right out the window. These politicians come in making $185,000 a year and base case salary. I think a junior senator makes around what maybe 150,000, 160,000. Literally 3 sessions in, it's like how they network this balloon up to over millions overnight. How? If you're not getting corporate kickbacks and sponsorships through lobbyists and the very people who are trying to separate Main Street people from the golden goose that lays the egg. See, this is the extent of this stuff. So again, you have to have other irons in the fire. And so Monica definitely would be the first person to tell you about figuring out how to maneuver to go into into your own personal finances, to figure out how to budget better, to figure out what preparatory skills you may have that are soft skill that may be turned into a value of a good LLC that you probably can leverage by value of grants, by value of using your corporate politics against them in a way that they may be trying to separate you from those benefits, because they definitely gonna be trying to separate you from them, right?
Heck, you could just like we talking about earlier. You could just get you a good general contract and go around into the rural areas and help people fill out applications.
In itself is monumental.
Make a come up. You'd be helping your community, and you'd be helping your pocket, and you'd be helping a business owner. Threefold.
And yet there's again a very sick, a diseased nature of people within the system already that's doing everything they can to block that easement of what people have access.
Yep.
Like, why would you go out your way to block people from that? Especially after they just came out of, this whole, pandemic scenario. We're still in an endemic perspective, but the ideal of the pandemic, really took people to wits end. And they just still don't let up. These people still don't let up. Right? They still would not let up. The whole idea of going into the SPR oil reserve was all for nothing. He depleted emergency stock barrels of oil, all for nothing. And now oil right back over above $1.20 a barrel. All that was for nothing. Like seriously. So again, as the saying goes, when you know better, you should do better, right? I mean, at this point, if you're not maneuvering or at least asking all the pertinent questions, because if you're not even asking questions, that's even worse, right? Closed mouth do not get fed, right? A closed mouth does not get fed, right? But they're never going to volunteer information outright, forcibly, beyond just base case information, right? They're going to give you the base case, the bare minimum, barely. Can you see? Barely, right? That kind of reality. They're going to give you base case information, right? So again, we're up against that kind of fight right now. Again, oil sitting up here at $123 a barrel, $123 a barrel right now. They did all that huffing and puffing and talking about we finna fight oil, right? To get the gas prices down. They did all that huffing and puffing. It pulled back from that first meteoric rise, and now we right back up to where we started from. Actually, we've already blew past that. We've already blown past that region. Like I'm like, I don't know what else to tell people down there at this point. It's really that bad, right? Because they want to lessen it. They want to lessen the blow. Guys, just calm down. It's not really this bad, because everything gonna tell you it's not that bad. You are the judge of that, though. They cannot make that decision for you. Again, the BLS website is showing you what's going on there. These other, the Federal St. Louis website is showing you what's going on through that portal. If you go to the New York Federal Reserve, whatever, wherever you go to get your data from, right? Housing markets, whatever, you're seeing these things And you're just looking at raw numbers and saying this don't look like no kind of value of abating. I'm just sorry. I don't see how they convincing me that this did. Some areas of softness there's there. We get that. There's certain areas even within the commodity market where there's softness. Again, we saw lumber prices literally crash over 100%, right, from its peak, but it's still up, right? That's what's great about it. Lumber is still sitting at the 500 handle. It's still sitting at the $500 handle. Right. So, yeah, again, make it make sense, that they say. Make it make sense, select, right? Somebody make it make sense, because clearly it's not, right? It's not, right? It's again, so we can go with sources of information. We know where to go. Again, we know what to look for, and we know how to, again, decipher the data. If you need help on this stuff, if I don't even put it that word in where you're saying like help, like you can't figure out. If you need some information on where to look, how to look, how to determine the numbers, hit us up. Hit me up. Hit Open Chris up. Hit Monica. Where you can find us in passing, if through the social media site, hit us up. Right? Again, allow the community to work in tandem to help your situation. What's going on, Open Sunline in the building? We'll see you in the building. Shout out to Open Sunline. Shout out to Open Sunline in the building. Right? Because that's what this is all about, guys. And again, oil sitting there climbing, it's still climbing. Look at that. If this is up, gas price is going to be up. It's just that simple. If they tell you anything different on the government side of things, they lying. That's how that works. It's that simple. This is your read right here. This right here. Go to investing.com, plug in, right, commodities, find the one that says, again, they got different ones. You'll see the different ones on there. Matter of fact, let me hover over it while I'm in there. See right here, commodity tab. See right here? You click on that. Matter of fact, hit the market tab, come to commodities. See right there, say real-time commodity, or you either go straight to crude oil WTI or Brent oil, any one of those, even the natural gas. You click on any of that stuff right there. That'll tell you whether or not what you're dealing with in terms of what. Those same things that they claiming that is getting better. This is how you come prove them a lie. If you wonder why your pasta still expensive, you come right onto that commodity tab. Let me go check what the wheat looks like. Now we know it. Import wheat is also another arm of this too, right? U.S. wheat is not necessarily telling a complete story, but it still sells some value of that. Look at the wheat prices, right? How is this abating, guys? U.S. wheat futures been ripping. Look at this here. I couldn't make this stuff up. Right? Couldn't make this stuff up, bro. Where is this getting better at? Oh, it went over 1,300 a while back, but now it's back. It's down some. Okay, it's still over 1,000. It was trending at around 600 to 700, 800 before all this, inflation really took root. Right? It started building into the inflation. That's how you know it's a true organic readout, because as they kept telling you that, it was transitory. The wheat futures were saying, no, bro, this ain't transitory. It don't look like it to me. This thing becoming to be a problem. Then it just started building, climbing, making higher lows, right? Uptrend scenario. And then it just broke out, went ballistic. And it just came back, pulled back, collecting itself, and now it's still kind of making still higher lows. Look at that. Higher low. Obviously down here, higher low. So where's this abating at, guys? I'm just asking for a friend. So you got to take out this candle right here in order for this to be for me to be serious about them really fixing that value. Even on the food shorter side of things, when it comes to the bread and wheat, how important wheat is. This candle here got to get taken out. We got to come all the way back down towards 930, 920. Right? So it's that kind of reality, right? Amongst other things, we can go to some of the other little softs and metals and feeder cattle, lean hogs, all this stuff. That we can go down those charts and look at the same thing, and we can see which ones are having levels of salt, and then we can see others that are still right back to rocking it back to the upside. How are you fighting inflation? All right. So the timelines that they're going to give you are going to be everything except the truth, right? Hence, that's why they keep trying to come up with other ways to tell you that they BSing you. Well, it was transitory, but now it's not so transitory, right? We're gonna try to engineer a soft landing, but maybe it may be somewhat of a soft landing. What is somewhat of a soft landing? Like, how do you somewhat soft land an airplane? Like a crashing airplane, how you somewhat soft land that? Like, anyway. So yeah, so I just want to speak to that today again. So I hope this, you guys have benefited from that. Again, it's not ball saying diesel prices are what moving up faster than oil. And again, those are some of the issues that's really the big issue, because truckers are the real, also another true barometer of what cost of flight or inflation looks like, because they're moving the goods that everybody waiting on: food, clothing, right, lumber, oil. They're moving hazmat items. If they get hit across the head at the gas pump,
yeah, they ain't making no money.
see how that work?
The brokers are really cheap, increasing their
Low baller, right?
Yep.
It's bad. See, and again, it ain't doomsday, but it's like they had ample time to get ahead of this stuff, and they chose not to. It's the same thing happened across the pond. What just happened recently over there in Europe? They literally took dude to trial, right? Boris Johnson to trial in the middle of the pandemic on Downing Street, right? That's kind of like they Downing Street would be kind of like equivalent to that of what? The Hamptons, right? And here in America, right? On Downing Street during the middle of the pandemic, a lot of these aristocrats over there, oligarchs and aristocrats, were having massive house parties in the middle of a 100% shutdown scenario. On taxpayers' money, they were throwing wild parties, and their president was in the midst of a couple of them. One of them they got caught in, at least. While everybody was home suffering, they was partying on taxpayers' money. Nancy Pelosi got caught getting her little wanky looking hair done, no mask on, and a zero mask policy. And you have to have a policy, right? You can't come to the business without a mask and all this. She up in there got caught getting her hair done when she's supposed to be in quarantine. Meaning, of all people, right? Not good look for a politician to be breaking all the rules, going up in a hair salon. Go ahead, Sister Mo. I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead. I thought she wore weed.
She probably did.
Lace front.
Right? Yes, we probably was in there getting some extensions or putting on that lace front.
I'm trying to get that contract at the VA.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, make some moves, right? Right? I mean, they and it's funny too, because Maxine Waters sit on that budgeting committee. She the chair of the grants and like government grants, stuff like that. She sits at the chair. And really, is she really looking out for? I'm just asking for a friend. She really looking out for people?
I tell you that. Nope.
I'm just asking for a friend, just because they look like, you don't necessarily mean what. I know they be like, Auntie Maxine, look, you ain't my auntie, bro, until you show me that you about that life. It's time out for just doing this whole personality worship. Again, this congeniality contest stuff ain't served nobody no kind of form of benefit. Jimbo Jenga Clyburn, same thing. He sit at one of the most very important seat as a minority whip and ain't doing nothing with it.
Yep.
But pushing everybody else's agenda besides what? His base. Who are the people that vote for Jimbo Jenga Clyburn? I'm asking for a friend.
He showed up at the Gullah Festival. We trying to get a check. Can I speak for a couple minutes? Yeah, it's election season and that young black boy running against you.
Marcel kicking his behind. And I know they're gonna try to railroad that guy, man. Marcel is everything that the South needs, and that's a red state. They need somebody like Marcel. I'm gonna go on my soapbox in a minute. Marcel, look, all right. I know that's a whole nother show. I know it's too late to go on that one now. But I'm just saying, guys, y'all might want to go look him up. Right?
Yep.
Him, like, and Dr. Johnson, like, if they team up, man, God, dog, I know somebody got to make that happen at some point. I know they got contact with each other, or at least they know of each other.
Yeah, Dr. Johnson good in the state. He bills passed and everything. I mean, he's really beating some doors down. We got a lot of teen young folk, shootings. Yeah, he's doing some. You right. He's doing
Foot
some
soldiers.
work. If he get with Dr. Johnson or whatever, man,
Man,
that,
oh boy.
that federal piece is what we missing. That
And
we got the state sold up.
yep,
We just got to get that federal piece.
you get my now you see where I'm going. Marcel will be the intricate piece for that. And he's speaking everything that you know that needs to be said, that we echo. We need to be echoing out front on bullhorns. But everything that we talk about in private, amongst those who are in the know, he's speaking all of those talking points and then extra. And they ain't sugarcoating them.
Nope.
And he's doing it 100% by the book, legal, based upon what's on the book, what set asides are already out there. He already had them delineated, compartmentalized, broken down, so they can't push back on any of it, besides them just having discretionary bias. See,
if Jay beat out Lindsay and he beat out Carbon, shoot, Lord, they might march in Carolina.
They flip Cyclone, and I'm not I'm neither that, but I'm just saying
anybody got
that's all they got unless they form a new party. But again, here's how it gets crazy, because if they speak in my talking points, I don't care who you affiliated with. Like Tariq was saying, it really is that simple. It ain't even hard. It's not even about pulling teeth. It's that simple. What are the tangibles that you're going to fight for in order to receive my vote? If you have no tangible agenda, kick rocks. The fact that they try to talk trash about Ice Cube going to Donald Trump shows you how immature and politically indigent that they are. Because you go to people to get benefits. Right. No matter who's sitting there, they all still the same buzzards. It's the same buzzard. Right wing, left wing is still the same buzzard in between. But what can you do for me?
Yep. Hey, they all showed up at the Gullah. I couldn't, but we had them all. We had the Republicans and the Democrats at the Gullah. About 40,000.
You already know.
That was at the Gullah. We had Tim Scott, Clyburn, Joe Wilson, all of them. We didn't care. Everybody come. We need all y'all to write the check.
And because Marcellus, he part of the Gullah Geechee, clan.
Yeah.
So he got that open door, right? And it should be so much that they got to go through him to get to all the others. And that's how it should be.
Yep.
Because he carries the voice of all those entrusted him with their agendas. They should have to go directly through him. And the fact that Clyburn dodged him at that Fish Fry that was supposed to be for everybody, that's an extension of showing you just how slick Clyburn is. He showed up at the Gullah Festival in that man's backyard and then pay him the proper respect, or give him that right when he showed up at his event, and then provide him the platform. At least, I get it. I know we kind of your political opponent, but yet, here's a young version, start at some point when I do get up out of here. Here's someone that you might, didn't even give him that kind of proper recognition. See, that's how slick these. But I'll leave that alone because I go on a tangent with that. So, I'm just saying, they talking about it's still getting better at it. Look, where? It's business as usual. It's business as usual until something changes. Right? It's like the same how they tell you that oh, let me take this thing. They're gonna preach that this whole ideal of just trusting the government, right? Until you pull one of the moves right there.
Oh, right? Lord.
Let go fear, doubt, and believe. Vote for us. We're going to handle the business, and then you jump right on out there. Game over. Right? Game over. They want people to stay, again, on that wagon of weight, the weight wagon. It just makes no sense to me. Makes no sense to me.
I wonder what they're going to do to her when she come down here. She'll be
man.
Be here Friday. Lord have mercy.
Man, again, let me show this here on the way out here. Let me get ready to shut down here in a minute. But this right here, let me show you this right here. I'm sure y'all already seen this here. This is just at this point, it's ratchet. I'll leave on this comment on this talking point here. Right? Let's go here real quick. This right here, right? It gets like these like this is like Beverly Hillbillies all over again.
Look at that. That's today.
This just happened recently, Monday.
Whoa.
Oh, and she bought it before then, but the press release came out. You know how they go. By the time it go through, they have to file it for public disclosure. It already has happened, but by the time it hits the presser, that's how it works. That show you how serious they got it. Right, this is outright insider trading at the highest level. Mind you, her husband just got caught with a what? DUI.
Oh,
In the new Porsche that he bought from other stock options, he crashed that, blew well over the legal limit for intoxication, come right out of the pocket, right out of the jail, not right into what? Buying some shares of, because she got word, as always, that the market is getting ready to, and because of this and the way that the policy that they finna come out with these talking points to say this is what we're gonna do to fight inflation. This should put an easement on the marketplace where people start selling. Y'all know when she bought these contracts and stuff like this? She bought contracts. Mind you, a senator should never be able to buy options. They should buy the shares outright. If she believe in the company, you should not be able to to bet into the option market through these derivatives. And she's leading the spearheading the idea of the panel about whether or not politicians should be able to invest in the stock market in real time. She's sitting on that committee for that same scenario, and yet she's doing stuff like this right here. The day she bought those Apple contracts, guys, and Microsoft contracts, y'all know what day that was by the chance?
Was it May 13th?
I'm finna tell you. It was right around. Now again, just
You so bad.
oh boy, these people. Him. See right here. Y'all see this here? Right around it right here.
It's spinning.
Oh, it's not showing?
You change the screen?
Yes, it's not showing.
No, it still shows the same thing.
Oh, my bad. Nope, I'm in the wrong one. My bad. Let me get out of there. I forgot I'm not on Zoom. It won't change manually unless you put it on the main screen. So look, she bought right here.
At the bottom, wow.
This is not insider trading. Clearly it's not. I'm sorry, it's not insider trading.
How many points that went up? Let me see. Oh wow.
It went up over 100. It was over 100, over 150 at the peak. Straight mockery. Microsoft, same way.
She bought 501 and a
almost
million.
and these are options, so that's more for less, right?
Options. God.
She didn't buy the shares, she bought options.
No.
That's straight gambling on her part, because for her it's supposed to be about like anything, how they had that disclosure, right? Like a accredited broker, you have to put that stuff out in the 13D filing. Buy the shares if you believe in it that bad. Why are you buying options? That's 100% and actively engaging the market based upon a lot of different moving parts. Policies, Federal Reserve commentary, their policy rate measures, what Janet Yellen's dog whistling to the stock market on down the line. They could make this more obvious than what it really is. And she just constantly gets away with it. And she was the biggest person pushing back when they came out, when the insiders got caught on the Federal Reserve for insider trading that nobody went to prison for. She was the biggest cheerleader saying, no, why would y'all want to stop, senators and stuff like that from being able to also invest in the stock market? She was the biggest one pushing back against it. Why? Well, now you know why. That's not even having to do with how to get corporate interest kickbacks as well and making millions and millions of dollars as well. Just greedy, shysters, snakes, charlatans, and frauds at the highest level. Do as I say, not as I do type of people. Well, that's your American government all in one soundbite. Do as I say, not as I do. Could make this stuff up. So again, I don't know, what it's gonna take, right? But yeah, it's not gonna let up. It's not gonna get any better. It's not gonna, there's no moral code in this country, right? There's no ethical value in this country. There's none of that. 1.5 million worth of Apple stock, as well as the 600,000 Microsoft shares, according to the recent financial disclosure submitted by the powerful Democratic lawmaker. The periodic transaction report was posted on the House of Representatives website Monday, right after the fact. Paul Pelosi bought Apple options between 500 and 1,000 up and 1 million on May, what? It's right there? Around May 13. 11 days, the financier bought what? Additional Apple call options, what? See right there? 11 days later, right around that 20, for 250,000 and 500,000, according to the disclosure. He out there drinking DUI, everything, just wide open, a brand new Porsche, and then bought with other, stock gains, and just literally just smeared it in people's face, right? Our latest disclosure comes just the days after we learned that Paul Pelosi, 82 years old, buying a sports car and just driving like he's 10 years old again. The new Porsche, just 5 miles from a multi-million-dollar Napa Valley home and vineyard, while allegedly under the influence of alcohol. Not allegedly, he blew. There ain't no allegedly. He could have went this old. They be trying to soften everything to protect these old crooks and criminals. He got caught. Ain't no way you halfway blow a what? A fake DUI. Either you drunk or you not. Either you pregnant or you not. They kill me with that goofiness. All right. The investment came after stocks, especially in the tech sector, were beaten down over fears of looming recession spurred by decades of high inflation. We know the market was going to crater and go lower at that point too. And they came in with that lie about the Feds may be thinking about pausing and the rate hike in September. Couldn't make this stuff up. It was so orchestrated. That's why I say this ain't. They sent Bostic was the henchman that they sent out there to do that. The federal governor of Atlanta. Right after that, in comes the idea of Nancy Pelosi's husband buying those call contracts now. Yeah. Anyway, so fraud at the highest level. Mind you, this is the same dusty, decrepit behind woman. Same dusty, decrepit behind woman who's watching gas in California right now be over $10 a gallon. She's also the same dusty, decrepit woman. May I remind you guys, right? May I remind you all, right? Some of y'all probably already seen this already, whatever, right? Ain't nothing secret at this point, right? With these, that ain't the one. Some of y'all, already know this stuff, right? Again, this one here. Some of y'all already seen this here. What did it say right here, guys? Can y'all see this here?
Yeah. But can you hear me?
Yeah. What did I say, Sister Monica?
Biden's son, Romney's son, Pelosi's son, Kerry's son, all are on the board of directors of energy companies doing business in Ukraine. Someone asked me that too. Hey, we need to all of them are going to Ukraine. Mo, who we gonna invest in? I know you know at my veterans convention. I was like, he was like, everybody done visit Ukraine. He said they wouldn't be going over there if they had an invested interest.
This goes back to 2014. This goes back to Obama. Mm-hmm. This goes back to that coup that they pulled in Ukraine to put that one puppet guy in power to spite Putin.
We just locked some people up.
Couldn't make it. And I'm not done yet. Look right here. See, this is why she going hard doing everything she doing. She trapping on the way out the door because she know her time is coming to an end soon. She's stealing everywhere she can right now. What that say right there?
When I was hungry, you fed me. Pelosi quotes Bible to justify $40 billion military aid package to Ukraine.
What day was that? What day is that on? May 12th, right?
May 12th.
Was gas prices at $1, $2, $3 at that time?
Nowhere near.
Were food prices back down to normal during that time? Anything else on it? Were we not dealing with inflation during that time?
Yep.
Like, you can make this stuff in the plainer. Like, this is, people need to be briefed on how to get real, information, how to delineate what's the real from the fake. So you don't be out there being what? Bamboozled by these lying behind people because you like them for personality worship as opposed to what they're actually doing for you. You like symbolism. You don't like real food going down your belly. You want somebody to walk up to you and put a well-cooked steak outside your belly and rub it up against the outside of your belly and ask you how good it tastes. That's your average politician. How that steak taste? It tastes good outside my belly. It tastes real good. Yes, ma'am. It tastes real good. Yes, Miss Millie. Couldn't make this stuff up, right? So as long as people are asleep at the wheel and allow these things to happen, it's gonna keep happening. They ain't gonna stop. You think the people gonna stop? Wake up and grow a conscience? Because they know the average American is going right in that same lane. Like, these people are the most hypocrites of all time. Right? They understand it. You had even, Kamala Harris. She laughing and acting goofy, and she's the worst. Did y'all see her at the eulogy of the people that got shot at Buffalo? How she went up there and made a mockery of all the people that got shot and died behind that racist terrorist white guy that shot up the people at the grocery store? Did y'all see how she was acting at the eulogy?
I didn't see it.
How her and Al Sharpton sat there and made a mockery of all those people dead and politicized it. And yet all these dumb behind goofy sorority women that put her in power, she laughing at all them face right there. And majority of them were all the black women. Stop playing.
Divine Nine.
They put her in office after America sent her kicking rocks way before even when she submitted her presidential bid. And they brought her right back and they got right behind that goofy behind fake black woman again. Dumb Negroes that sleep at the wheel. And they can make no excuse for picking Biden and this ratchet of a what? Knee pad wearing woman. Call it what it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
Yeah, you said knee pad.
You knee pad her way into where she's at. Started with Montel Williams. From Montel Williams, she went to Willie Brown. From Willie Brown, counting how many others. And now she all of a sudden magically ended up with a Jewish guy to give her a different look, marketing-wise. And now she got sitting at the second highest seat in America. And she got no biological kids of her own. Are you kidding me? Now, you think she's going to go in there and do the bidding of your people? She's going to go in and do the bidding of black people who really put her in that position. Not Indian, not this Asian side of her, not the Indian side of her, not this Euro side of her. Black people put her in that position. What has Kamala done for black people? I'll wait.
Honey, this is the first time
for a friend.
She come on Friday. This would be the first time I've seen her since she's been elected. Come out.
She's been high this whole entire presidency.
Where the heck she been? Another country.
I need our people to get serious about holding people's feet to the fire. What part of being gullible and hoodwinked, bodes well with your ability to put food in your stomach, grocery on your shelf, gas in your car, benefits in your bank account. I'm just asking for a friend. I'm just asking. When these people show up, they need to be booed before they even get out the cars. But again, people out there just so weak. They so weak. They so distracted. They so weak and spineless. They don't know how to stand up for themselves and demand what these people are supposed to be doing. So they get the same thing over and over. Every Democratic president to date has been a person of symbolic gesture, no more, no less, especially on the black community. No more, no less. Straight symbolic. Up and down. And yet, like Joe Biden said, if you ain't black if you don't vote Democrat. Told everybody to their face. Straight chunk black folk. You ain't black if you don't vote Democrat. And Negroes still gonna show up and vote. Go all in. For a 3-strike law orchestrator of a bill that crippled more black men than you can even imagine. Still to this day, he hadn't atoned for that. Came out and said racist remarks that black kids should not be going to school with other white kids. This was back in what, the 70s or 80s when he made that remark?
70s.
All of a sudden, he's a champion for the people. And putting all these symbolic people in these little weak seats that are not necessarily you want to be filled by even other people. Like that Pierre girl, the new press secretary, straight symbolism, straight trash. A lot of people ain't gonna like that, especially my Haitian family. They're gonna get in their feelings, but we don't do symbolism any longer. I don't care if she is from Haiti.
She just reads.
Got no value whatsoever being in that position. Even for Haitians, besides the symbolism. They held her feet to the fire literally, a week or so into the job. A reporter asked her outright about the reparation claim that's moving through California right now. You know that stupid, gullible woman bucked her eyes and gave the raunchiest answer ever and deferred to Joe Biden. They asked her, and they asked her because they knew you're a black woman. That bill gaining traction is very important for debates. Even if they try to play the minority coalition, but period. How do you feel about it? Oh, the president already made a stance on how, and she bucked the eyes first, and then she went on to get this old cocky mammy answer. So I'm gonna need my Haitian brother and sister to hold that L. Because I've seen a lot of them cheerleading when she got that job. I'm like, are y'all serious? What is she gonna do to build that? Anyway, jokers don't like to deal with the truth, man. I'm so sick of all this fakeness, and because it gets important, because if they're not gonna do nothing to change the status quo through business ownership or business investments and stuff of that nature, what else you waiting for? You waiting on this to do something for you? This stuff in this trash can to do something? You see what I'm saying? It's like Putin and Biden sitting down and stalemate. Like, yep. Well, yep. We just gonna do yep. Act like ain't nothing. Yep. It's that kind of reality. Right? I'm like, how, Sway? How, Sway? How? Right. So anyway, so I'm gonna leave it at that, guys. So I think you gotta have them conversations, guys. You gotta keep it 100. And these times, it ain't all about none of that English stuff. It's about you gotta figure out where you are in the grand scheme of things, because everybody else seems to know how to click up and go get benefits. We are in the month of what? June. What is the month of June been deemed?
Juneteenth.
What just happened with Juneteenth? Scandal? What just happened with the Juneteenth scandal a week ago?
Oh, Juneteenth scandal? I don't know about that.
You missed that? Urban One sold off over 40%. Carver Bank sold off over 20-30%.
What?
Walmart was selling Juneteenth stuff. Like everything we said that was going to happen when they made this a fake holiday, they profited off of Juneteenth. And none of that money is going to go directly to what?
To the people.
The way it's supposed to. And they shut down, not only that, they shut down a bid that Urban One Media Company and Carver Bank was intended to try to get this casino in the Richmond district in Richmond And they pretty much, annex them people away from that opportunity. In the month of June, on the back of the Juneteenth. Let me do this real quick on the weather though. Y'all know me. See, I know I gotta, I'm trying to go right. But this is the urban economic handle side of this one. On this one here, and we gonna have that conversation. Look at him. Look at him. Right. Let me pull this up right here. You guys got to see this here. And it's crazy too, because, you would think that, there's a concerted effort to really try to, act as if they really trying to help the base, right? At this point, right? Some of these people who, in a position like this publicly traded company to really help them get, the value of the funding they need to make things happen. Look right here. Y'all see this right here?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me pull this up right here. Is it still, y'all see that?
Mm-hmm.
Urban One may pursue legal action to counter the legislation effort to what? Dash the Richmond casino. The fact that they allowed that one to happen in Prince George, right? We know we got one down in the Washington, down in the Washington Basin area, right? This was just another what? Extension of what? Using that blueprint to what? Gain that same kind of traction to do offer that in what? In Richmond, right? Richmond is a black city, right? It happened to be the capital of Virginia, granted, but we talking about a black city, the same way how Prince George is, right? Prince George County, that's a black district, right? Well-to-do black district, so to speak, right? And they knew that this was a good moment to help black ownership, black enterprise, black business at this level. We tied all these little small scale scenarios. Legislation came right out there and tried to block that. Right? It's the Silver Spring Company out of Project Vac. Moving the people, they chose to put it, now mind you, now you was the military like I was, I don't know if you ever came through quartermaster side of the house, I'm a quartermaster.
Nah.
But if you Fort Lee, right, home of the quartermaster. If you know anything about Fort Lee area, and you know anything about Petersburg is where Virginia State College at, right? The black college, right? But it's still a very off the beaten path little city, right? Between Colonial Heights, Petersburg, and Fort Lee, that's it in that area, right? Until you get up into Richmond, right? Which is around about 30, 40 minutes up the street, right? Ain't nothing there. Ain't nothing in that area. State legislature sent crowbarred the project to send it to what? Petersburg. As opposed to Richmond, the capital city of Virginia. Richmond, down near downtown Richmond, they chose to send it to a off the beaten path, dusty, crack road environment. That's what it is down there in Petersburg. Old colonial house looking area in Petersburg. Straight racism. Call it what it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Know what happens is, and they've been pushing this project for a long time, Urban One, right? There's a guy behind it, put money behind it. The stock created over 40% off this. And they should sue because it was almost, certain that they had opportunity to make this project happen. Again, using the blueprint that they use in Prince George County to get the casino they got down there, of course, and copy that and do one in Richmond. It would have been perfect in Richmond because they got the river that comes through there. Right on that, they got the matter of fact. I know the place they could have put it at too, because it's a little warehouse, an abandoned warehouse, right off the river from downtown across the street, across the interstate of 95. It'd have been perfect for it. And it was supposed to be this kind of ideal of using that as a way to set up for Juneteenth as a way to really promote black empowerment. The whole idea behind Juneteenth, it was symbolic too. Straight shot them down. Oh man. Anyway, Joker sleep at the wheel, bro. We not right. We're not right. We're not right, and that's why this stuff is important, because a lot of people don't realize that. Notice that it said legislative, right? Legislative, right? The arm of that part of the government shot it down to put it in a low traffic, low head count, lower income tier environment than that of what? Putting it in an area where it could have boomed. And the fact that it was going to be black people sitting up in the C-suite, they had a problem with it. You know, so this is what y'all up against, guys. I'm just saying, at some point, it's going to have to matter. Right? Some points are going to have to matter because these people doing everything. And I'm saying that because, yeah, this is supposed to be what? This kind of new value to celebrate Juneteenth, right? Walmart already done tried to pull a what? A do little twist and make money off what? Juneteenth, right? I don't know if you caught that money. I know you've been super busy lately, but this whole Walmart Juneteenth scandal, right? They tried to put out a Juneteenth ice cream. And get what? It was great value at that. A dusty, great value ice cream. Look at that there.
Hey, they want all the lowest case scenario money.
Look at that. It was a great value version too. Celebration edition of Juneteenth ice cream. Look at these shiesty, shaded, dusty, decrepit, rancid, insidious.
They always find a way to put money back in their pocket. And we'll go buy from them versus buying from your vendor.
Nobody on the PR board, the M&A board, nobody on that side of the, hey, y'all think that's a good idea without going to certain people and trying to, figure out that they're vote off on this? They ain't got no say, run it. If they have a problem against it, we'll just take it off share. Too late. They do that kind of stuff. Knowing it was offensive out the gate, run it. Let's see how they respond. They do that kind of stuff when it comes to us. Couldn't make this stuff up. So people wonder, why, why there's a no nonsense kind of approach to dealing with people like yourself, possibly at this point now, Monica. You ain't got the patience, the time to deal with that foolishness because you see the extent of how time is wasted and the cost of that, not just monetary cost, but just all the other, headaches that come along with that. And other guys is in the back chat and how you're trying to really help people see the light of day from a different perspective because they've been caught in these same little enclaves for so long, following all this kind of foolishness, trivial stuff, and there's no really end goal. There's no end result that they're trying to achieve. No more than just sitting there pontificating and spinning their wheels and going in circles, jockeying for whatever reason, for ego. There's no end result in mind. Like how at this point in the game? And I'm saying that to say this, and I'm gonna close on this. Y'all see the colors right here of this little ice cream up here too? Right? You see the semblance of those colors there? Close enough to what?
Red, black, and green. The good Jamaica colors.
Okay. We see all our color, but also what is also is close to what?
Gaviite, the red, black, and green.
Right. But I'm just saying from our side, if I say our side, what is what the colors are also close to?
You mean you talking about like the African print or something? What do you mean? Oh, our side. Let's see. No. Oh Lord, no! Stop. You fired. I'm firing you.
What is the month of June? They
You're
switched.
right. It's Pride Month. Yeah.
In our so-called month of Juneteenth.
Yeah, but when it became Pride Month, because I thought May was Pride.
They just started.
I thought so.
That's what I'm telling you. Did you see the hustle?
I thought something was wrong with that picture. I was like, when did Pride jump to June?
You see the hustle.
It was a Memorial Weekend in Colombia. I know that jumped to June. I said, wait.
The hustle. As soon as they made Juneteenth a federal holiday, instantly, and everything you've been saying on Google, on YouTube, on Apple, all these publications now are going 100% all what? Pride all over everything. Bloomberg, CNBC, every national publication is brandishing all the LGBTQ stuff. Nothing about what? Juneteenth. We don't get that level of publicity in the month of February. That they're giving this small minority base of people that have amassed all this power just to be in a position to flaunt their sexuality in a way to act like they're being discriminated against. And Black people been dealing with this over 400 years and trying to make their what? Issue symbiotic with ours. Everybody crowbars and use our movement, our suffering to push their agenda. Woe with the ignorant Negroes out there who allow it. Woe to you. Your sexuality would never erase that of the suffering that my ancestors dealt with. Not even close. How dare you disrespect them to even tie your movement to ours anyway? They've been hustling us for the longest. And the fact that this reparation claim is catching traction, everybody in their feelings about it, look, if they don't understand how business works, allow it to happen. There needs to be a purge. There needs to be a purge of weak people from people who are actively trying to really make a difference or get what's owed to them rightfully. So nobody's going to bat for you. They're benefiting off you. They're using your movements to make money off you. I guarantee you, if Walmart would have tried that stuff through the LBG2 corporation and they didn't clear that through them, Walmart would be in so much heat. They've been boycotted tomorrow. I guarantee you. Like, this is the standard how, anyway, this is exactly why. 100% right, it's ill, but Tamika, that's why I don't follow you, holler that. Y'all know my stance on that. Y'all know y'all dealing with the right, because y'all know I don't celebrate none of the marketing days. Matter of fact, I go out my way to tell people, educate people why they are marketing days. And it's a cyclical nature that they use in America to push all these pagan fugazi and holidays on people, to play on their heartstrings, to get money out their wallets, to help they what? Greedy behind corporations because they never really do nothing to give back to people anyway. So they just play on people to make money off of them all day, every day. Like, excuse my language, why the hell would I want to celebrate that goofiness? For what? There is no ROI in terms of what that really would do for my household. None. So I'm just saying, guys, look, you got to figure out, what's happening. You guys already know this stuff anyway. I know I'm talking to a lot of people who are already up on game, but look, it happens. Sometimes you got to be able to, make sure you stay comfortable knowing what exactly is going on so you can maneuver better. Again, play ball respective to what you can account for. I end on that note. June is June.
If I'm being honest, loving you the hardest thing to do, so I keep to myself. I feel like I'm falling in and out of consciousness. Yeah. Now we starting to talk, let's killing all the progress. Really hard to process, you treat me like an object. Baby, we toxic, can we stay on topic? I feel like we lost it, Take my love, don't waste it. Even though I don't mind waiting. Latest, my mind racing. What else I have to do, girl, to praise you? I only want you, yeah. I only want you. I only want you. Pull me closer. reason. Broken heart need repairing, yours a reason. On the hospital bed, the pain not leaving. Cupid arrows to the chest, I can't stop bleeding. If you gon' lead, then gon' lead just like everybody else. If you don't like my company, then I'll do life by myself. Girl, your love like a drug, it ain't good for my health. Even though it's killing me, girl, I love you to death. Take my love, don't waste it. Even though I don't mind waiting. Latest, my mind racing. What else I have to do, girl, to praise me? I only want you, yeah. I only want you. I only want you. Pull me closer. Closer to you, pull me closer. Closer to you, pull me closer. Closer to you, pull me closer. Don't push me away. Don't push me away. Closer to you, pull me closer. Closer to you, pull me closer. Closer to you, pull me closer. Don't push me away. Don't push me away.
All right, guys, I ain't got nothing else. I'm out of here. Over Chris, you got any last parting words? Any last parting words? Over Chris probably busy right now making moves anyway. Thank you, everybody that came on the panel today. Sister Monica, Eva, Angie, Oba Seth Tupperware came through. Who else we had? We had Oba Rich Boy that came through momentarily. Everybody on the back panel in itself, Sister Angie, Sister Tamika, Oba Sunline, Brother Everything, Brother the Snot Ball. Brother Mathis came through, over Brandon, the whole nine, the whole crew, the whole nine. Y'all know how we roll. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Over Ramsey, right? Who else we had? Make sure I ain't missing anybody on that side. We appreciate you guys a million. Again, you know, you're welcome here anytime these conversations are necessary. Thank you, Brother Peace Move. Got you as well. Everybody may be listening on the YouTube side of, the Facebook side of things. Over Chavez, right? Everybody may have been listening on the Twitter side of things. We appreciate you as well. We can have some real adult-like conversations and keep it, you know, primary sources on topic of what we're trying to discuss here. We appreciate you guys. It matters to have real, conversations that, derive around what your life is, being, affected by in terms of inflation. We have, again, a very important inflationary readout come this Friday. I'm pretty sure you guys will be kind of locked and loaded, ready for that. It's a very, how can I describe it? It's a very monumental binary event. I'll say it that way, right? It's going to move the market one way or the other, up or down. And the commentary to follow that next week with the FOMC meeting on June 15th will be also indicative of whether or not they're going to downplay the extent of what you're dealing with in terms of inflation, right? If they really, truly, honest about trying to fight this, they will do what's necessary to fight it. If not, they just kicking the can down the road, spinning their wheels as always. Don't buy into it. Act accordingly, protect your scenario, save wherever you can. Look, we're not out of this no way near fashion, right? It's not going to get any better no time soon. That's just based upon the data, not my opinion and my feelings. Learn how to research the stuff you're on. Go by the Bureau of Labor Statistics website. Check the Federal St. Louis website. Check the New York Federal website as well. See what that money looks like, what they're doing with the money that they claim they're doing, and then let your morals, lie based upon what you're able to kind of determine, right? Go to investing.com. Check the commodity market yourself. You'll see the real organic numbers, what they look like, not the numbers that they're going to give you or try to speak to the value, whether or not they feel like they're coming down or not. Those are organic readouts that you can go check yourself, right? If you have questions about that stuff, hit me up, message me, email me, whatever. I'll send those things to you if you need them. No harm, no foul. That's what we're here for, right? Ubuntu, as I say, Ubuntu, right? I am because we are. Appreciate you guys again. Like, share, subscribe. If you choose to want to donate, again, my Cash App down there. YouTube stopped monetizing my channel as they did with a lot of content creators recently because they crunching numbers, right? Everybody getting their so-called, wake-up call on the corporate side. So they're affecting even small content people like myself and others. So Cash App down if you want to donate. Thank y'all for tuning in. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace, power, profit, everybody. Thank y'all for coming through. Peace, everybody. Peace.